go ahead and stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is usually the part of the meeting that if you're not on the agenda, if you got something that you want to talk about or bring up, we can hear you, but we can't act on it. So we can talk about it at a later meeting. So if anybody here that's not on the agenda that has something they want to talk about. All right, moving right along. Eric Lowry with the Mayberry comes to Scottsburg.
Mr. Prince, nice to meet you. Mr. Jones. Mr. Julian. So today is primarily informational, but I think we'll have at least one request, as I'm learning who's responsible for different things when we come to events like this. So we started working on this last summer, when we found out Danville was not going to have their event. I've been doing this for quite some time. I won't go to drag you through me reading this to you, but if you want to have some more detailed background, I've got a lot of information in here. Basically, what a Mayberry event like this is, it's like many other festivals, but it's themed around the Andy Griffith Show. And there are basically two groups of people who come and put this on. One are what we call tribute artists, which are people who dress up like characters for the show and do all sorts of silly things throughout the weekend. The other group are actual cast members from the show and other celebrities who have a connection to the show. So we put on all sorts of different things throughout the weekend. And then in Danville's case, they averaged somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 people that would come to Danville for over 6 years. South Carolina had a festival similar to that. They averaged between 8,000 and 10,000. I don't know what we'll get the first year, but I believe we'll get somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 people that will show up for the first year. I've got some things to show you here at the end that lead me to believe that's going to be the case. We have been working to get the festival set, and we've picked, actually 6 or 8 months ago, we picked the last full weekend of June 23rd to 25th. It's listed here. And working with, as you see on the cover there, I've been working with the City of Scottsburg and the Visitors Commission, Chamber of Commerce, and other groups to help build some support for that and some volunteer help to help organize things. We've got about 20 people so far that are on our volunteer team to help head up different parts of the event. Some of the things that we have anticipated to include in the weekend, a meet and greet dinner with the celebrities. One of the things that my request for this group, and you hopefully will correct me if I'm not at the right group, but we would like to have much of this on the town square. And my understanding is the commissioners are the ones who would grant the right or the ability to set up things around the square, on the square grounds, etc. And so that's going to be part of this request, is to ask you to consider that. We also would like to have, as many of these events do, we'd like to have a short parade, and I've been working with the car show guys to have a car show around the square. After the parade, we'd end up on the square and have a car show that would include our local car guys and their classic cars who would be in the parade. But also, there's usually 7 or 8 Andy Griffith Show squad car replicas that come as well. So it'll be kind of a neat show around that as well. And we have a variety of things planned for on the square. Probably be having some things at Mass Park, some things at Beechwood Park. It's going to be a pretty good size scaled event. I've been working, as a matter of fact, I'm still working on the budget, as things are still in a little bit of flux with some people who can come and who can't come. I'll be presenting a full budget and pro forma income and expenses to the Visitors Commission next week when I meet with them. But things are tightening up really well, and I think we're going to be able to make that work. I think it's going to, at least all the hope is that we're going to come out in the black, have a little extra, and maybe be able to go again for more than 1 year. Here in the back section here, about the middle, we are talking about some other things that are going to happen. We did a movie 2 years ago called Mayberry Man, and we did a screening of it here a couple of years ago. We had about 300 people come just to our theater here in town to come just to see the movie. So we're going to have a free screening of that movie, as well as perhaps that movie is now into a streaming series. And so by June, the hope is that we'll have some good info on the first episode of the streaming series. and some of the crew and some of the cast will be here for that movie as well. Coming back again to give you just a couple of hints on some of the celebrities who have committed. Andy Griffith's daughter has committed. Don Knotts' daughter has committed. A fellow named Ronnie Shell, may or may not recognize that name, but most people would know him as Duke Slater from the Gomer Pyle USMC show, and he was on the Andy Griffith show as well. Another fellow here that you see his picture played Opie's buddy on the show in about 16 episodes or so. His name's Dennis Rush, a really nice guy. And we have others as well that, a couple of them I'm trying to keep a little bit on the QT until we get this all lined out. And of course, we'll release some of those names as well. And a couple others are still waiting to commit. So we'll have a very nice group of folks as well as celebrities that are gonna come. And one last thing that I wanted to share with you regarding what I think is a very good indicator of the potential for the event. We put up a Facebook page simply to get it up and configured, kind of tested, get some artwork put up, just to kind of have it ready to go when the time comes. And the second to the last page, we didn't tell anybody about it. We didn't advertise it. We just put it up. People started finding it. And within a week, this was just last week, the last 7 days of last week, January 23rd to 29th, that page had a reach of over 20,000 views without any advertising at all. We had 1,300 reactions, 900 likes, 196 shares, and 312 people followed that page without even finding it. And if you look at the second page, here's the interesting part. So I'm printing out this page to include in this report, and before I could even get the second page printed, which kind of shows the distribution of followers, had another follower. There's 313 within just a few minutes. As the kids say, I think we've gone virus. Anyway, there's a tremendous amount of interest. I'm really excited about the possibilities, and we really haven't even told anybody about it yet.
Okay.
So I've been working with the Visitors Commission. We have a presentation for them for a grant, working with the Scottsburg Redevelopment Commission as well. And when we have those grants approved, hopefully by next week, then we'll be ready really to cut loose with the advertising, confirm everything. So I've come to kind of inform you of what we're working on, ask you for the permission as far as using the facilities, but also just ask for your, I guess, vote of support, if you will, to say, yes, we'd like to, as a county, like to see that happen and like to be able to support it as well. I don't want to just run off and do something, obviously, without having you as elected officials be aware, be involved, and be supportive of what we're trying to do.
Well, I know you contacted me back, I think September or something, and told me that you might be doing something, and I think this board, I'm not talking to these two guys, but I'm sure we're very supportive of bringing an influx of people into our community that may not have ever been here, and maybe see something they like, and maybe bring businesses or something else to Scott County. So when the time comes, I'm sure we can give you permission to be on the square or on the courtyard. And like I said, whatever you need from us, we're probably gonna be pretty easy to do.
Permit application.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're, of course, for the parade, we're gonna have to have an application for that as well. So I'm
Well, that's what the city does.
looking for guidance
Yeah,
as to,
Different.
to make sure to go to the right entities for that.
Yeah, the city would be the deal with the parade, but as far as having people on the courtyard, there's a form that you can get from the auditor, and it's simple.
Very good. Well, I'll make sure I get that, because of course we want to make sure we get the date set so that, someone else maybe, hopefully hasn't already asked for that. But
Well, that's why I was
I'll
looking
be
at
in to see you.
that's why I was looking at my calendar as far as the date, because the fair has changed always, and it's 4th of July week, so
It's been so hard to try to find a date. It was.
Yeah.
And you'd never find one that doesn't conflict with something.
Absolutely.
But we think this is a pretty.
But it doesn't conflict with the fair, so that's where I was getting at.
Very
So,
good.
No, I think it'll be a good draw, and I'm a fan of the show, and I watch it probably every day, so I could probably tell you every episode.
Great. Well, we'll have a lot of things. One thing that you guys would like to have you do, these things often are kicked off with sort of a proclamation. And so we like to have elected officials come and meet the crowd. We're probably giving keys to the city to some of the celebrities. We'd love to have you guys be a part of that as well on the square. Once we kick the thing off, we'll introduce you guys and you can welcome, the visitors who are coming to town too. So I'll be in
Sounds
touch
good.
with more details, but I really appreciate your support and your encouragement, and most of these things will draw people from the eastern half of the country, so I wouldn't be surprised at all to have people to come from 10 or 15 states. So I've been doing this 15 years in other places around, so if this one turns out anything like the rest of them, it's gonna be fantastic.
Good.
We appreciate you bringing this to Scottsboro.
Indeed. Well, thank you guys very much. If you have any
All right.
questions, otherwise, I'll just be back in touch with more details when they're ready.
All right, Aaron.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Andrew.
How is everyone?
Good.
Alright.
Are you asking for money?
A little bit.
Maybe I answered good too soon.
Yeah. Alright, we'll start off with the cell phone booster project. We did bring that up last year. We did talk about it. We did table it. Just kinda wanna revisit that, see what you guys think.
All right, I'm gonna ask a question here, because, excuse me. Everybody's computer is hardwired on a wired Ethernet cord
Yep.
for internet and that. So, but everybody's cell phone is trying to get outside this building to get some sort of internet connection.
Yep. Or make a call
Or
or
make a call.
text or anything.
I don't know what it is with this, in this area right here, but right there at the stoplight, beside Java, when you're facing east, I lose satellite, I lose connection, I lose whatever, and I don't know what it is, but that's the only place.
I think surrounded by brick buildings, it's a no-go.
But being in this courthouse and, you sit here and try to get out on your phone or do something or pull something up and everything's Bluetooth or whatever anymore. I understand, and that's why I asked you to kind of look into it, see what the price is for us to try to alleviate that problem, eliminate that problem, and, see what we can do, so
Yep.
tell us the damage.
The quote is still the same from 360 Networks. We're sitting at 28,848.49. But you can look through the details. The SureCall system itself, the booster system, is the biggest chunk at 22,000, and labor is 6,600, which is going to be a pretty extensive job getting through these ceilings, running everything from the cupola down and mounting them, and it's going to be a pretty rough job.
So is there gonna be something on the roof that's gonna
So
make us
the cupola,
not wanna have this?
something on the roof.
Okay, it's gonna change the aesthetics of the building.
The antenna will just be inside of the cupola.
Okay.
You won't even see it, and that'll be the highest spot to pick up a good signal to amplify it throughout the building.
Okay.
But you won't even notice it.
As time changes, will any of this ever have to change?
This is the newest system, and what's good about the cell phone boosters like the SureCalls, the domes that go on the ceilings, the antennas, and the wiring are pretty much going to be around for a while. So only thing maybe down the road you'd have to just upgrade the equipment, the box itself.
The $22,000 box.
Yeah, but as for all the wiring and the domes, they can stay because it's just coax.
Yeah.
So
So the biggest cost would be something that down the road would have to be replaced.
yeah.
And technology changes as soon as you install it, so.
And they put one booster in the jail's basement, and I believe it's been running for, I want to say 5 years right now, and it has never skipped a beat. Like it just works.
Greg, you got any questions?
All right, ask him.
Are you Greg?
Oh, I thought you said Randy.
But then, of course, if you guys say, yeah, go move forward with it, then I'm gonna have to go to council and try to, 28. Yeah,
28,808,49.
that's a nice little chunk, but it's a big
Well,
building. It's
I'm gonna say on a side note, and I hate to use this word because everybody thinks that, we have to do this because of safety or whatever, but in this day and age, it might be a safety thing with somebody, needing to get out on a cell phone.
there's plenty of spots, especially in the basement too, that there's just
I know,
nothing.
I've tried to call Marty a million times on her cell
Yeah,
phone.
they have trouble, and plus we'll have vendors down the basement too. Yeah, have vendors here and they're trying to get out to their buddies or their, corporate, and it just,
He does the same thing on his laptop down there, so he's trying to get out too, so. Is there any of the monies that we have, and you know what I'm talking about, the two funds that we could, the one fund we could probably pull if we had to, if the council is struggling to fund any kind of
Yeah,
funds?
I think you could potentially use the ARPA fund for something like this. It's, again, not to kind of shore up operating for any particular department, and it's not specifically addressing like the utility, I guess, but it's, again, part of that money, even under the or the three different like subsections that they allowed it to be spent under before it was taken as loss recovery, did discuss basically like creating mechanisms to allow people to access the internet better. I mean, I think in a sense it was talking about like people in rural areas, but so it's not exactly in that same vein, but again, because the county took it as loss recovery, I think obviously that opens up a wider ambit of things that it can be spent for, and I would believe that this one would be perfectly fine. It comes under the threshold of the state laws for, purchasing, and I think at this point it would be kind of discretionary for you guys to determine whether or not you wanted to approve it as ARPA monies and then send it to council to see if council would appropriate the money from it.
Questions, thoughts?
Do you really feel like we need this?
oh yeah. Yeah, there's so many dead spots in this courthouse, and just trying to make a call or get a text, it's pretty annoying. And plus too, like Mike said, a safety issue. If you're down in the basement and something happens, you can't get out.
I'm gonna ask as a lawyer, if you're in the courtroom upstairs and you're in a case, are you on Bluetooth or are you hardwired into the internet for your laptop?
Wi-Fi.
Well, I don't think I could answer that question very well because I have access to the internet's Wi-Fi, or the building's Wi-Fi, and not every lawyer who comes into the building will have the same access. I will say that when I try and call different departments here, if I call a department head's cell phone, thinking of Jennifer, I will often do it just like not thinking, trying to get direct to somebody, and I'm not saying that calling the office phone is like a hindrance or whatever. You get dead spots, calls drop out, I mean, it does happen, and I do think that the upstairs does have, some issues with, probably not just incoming lawyers, but I think the prosecutors sometimes have difficulty, and the judge does as well, like accessing the defense, but you might be able to speak to that a little better.
Yeah, cellular, and what's weird too, on circuit side, it's a little better, or no, sorry, circuit side's worse, Superior side's a little better. I can't tell you the rhyme or reasoning why that is, but it's just hit or miss throughout the whole building, so.
So is it any better or any worse with the metal roof?
You know, I really haven't paid attention to that.
Sometimes that deflects.
Metal's horrible.
I think
But-
generally when you look across Indiana at the Indiana style courthouses, because you have large brick buildings
Mhm.
surrounded by
Brick buildings.
brick buildings on the square, just everywhere you go, you have difficulty. I mean, this is not the only courthouse in the state that I have problems getting cell phone service.
Yeah. And it's weird, cause you can actually, when you get away from the square,
It'll
it
take-
starts to get, yeah.
I think, the thickness of 9 layers of shingles.
Would equal out to the,
Yeah,
Probably didn't change much, by the time we did that one.
yeah.
I mean, I've had to call in here to meetings, over the last few years, and it's a disaster.
yeah.
I mean, I can't hear,
I know you-
call, I mean, it's,
Or you've got quite upset a couple times trying to call out and text and you're just,
so, security is a big factor, and just, doing business in general is another. So, there's a considerable amount of value there, if we can't use the technology that we have, so.
yeah.
um,
I think it'd be a really good idea. I mean, yes, it's costly.
It's an
That's a nice,
investment.
that's a nice chunk of money, but it is a very good investment. And those are good systems. You set them and forget them.
So I guess a question I would have, would it be that someone walks in here and doesn't have to do anything with their cell phone or their laptop or anything? It's
Nothing.
gonna work on any device, any kind of service you
Cell
have.
phones,
You're not gonna have to tie into our system to be able to use it.
all carrier. So
Okay.
all carriers are
All right,
supported.
That's a question I had.
Yeah,
'cause
Verizon, AT&T,
I mean-
T-Mobile, you name it. As soon as you walk in, it's gonna
Pick you up.
pick it up.
Yeah, I couldn't get on state email right now with my device, without logging into,
Yeah, Wi-Fi.
the courthouse.
Yeah, I mean, there are
And
some
if I
people,
didn't know that, if I just wasn't privy to that and didn't know that, I would be out of luck.
yeah.
Okay. Any more questions, Randy?
It's a double-edged sword, I guess, is the problem with me. I see the need for it, but at the same point in time, I'm sitting here in the back of my mind thinking, I might be agreeing to $28,000 for employees to get on Facebook at their desk instead of, which is a problem throughout the nation right now, with every company.
Well, we're supposed to have a
We are.
county policy that says you're not supposed to be doing that, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you,
Who's policing that?
when me as a retiree, is sitting on Facebook and I get people that's replying on Facebook and I
You
know
know
they're
it's on
supposed to be
top.
at work, I mean.
That's,
I'll-
yeah, and that's out of my wheelhouse.
I know
mean,
that,
That's,
I know that there's nothing you can do.
yeah, I can't,
Yeah, you can't put a Facebook blocker on there.
like, hey, get off Facebook, get back to work. I'm not doing that. No.
Right.
Nick, you got a question?
More of a statement, I can tell you that there's times when our internet goes out, that our landline phones are then locked to not getting out, but that is the only way that I can communicate with him to say, hey, my internet's down, hey, I have no phone, hey.
Yeah,
And I get where you're coming from with social media aspect, but when we drop internet, you don't just drop internet, you drop phone, you drop internet, you drop all services, because it's VIOP, correct me if I'm wrong,
correct.
so.
So I guess that's a question I'm gonna ask then. Would this be some sort of backup to something else? Say our internet service goes down on one side, there's no way it's gonna pick up anything else.
Mm-mm. This is strictly cellular data.
Okay.
And that is
was
it.
Just a question.
Yep. For another time, I will be coming back for a backup for internet. I've actually been talking to Frontier and Spectrum to get some prices, so that's another meeting.
So I guess if you was, an outside contractor, and you're coming in here and you have a cell or a laptop,
Mhm.
they could use that internet without getting on our Wi-Fi.
Correct. A lot of the vendors that come in are contractors. They usually have a cellular, like a hotspot or a jetpack. They pack with them to get Wi-Fi to their laptops.
But if they don't
But-
have that,
Correct. We no cell phone signal in here, then their hotspot's useless too. So they're running up from the basement to the first floor, trying to get out and trying to work on stuff, and coming back down to the basement, and I'm following around everywhere, and so yeah, that happens.
Anything else?
It's pretty easy to me. I know it's, you know, 28,000 and it's.
Yeah, it's a
lot
car.
of money, but
I mean,
what's
it's
one tragedy worth, I mean, without being able
I
to.
think,
get
I think
out?
one of the benefits of the request though, is that it's a single request. So we've had a lot of ARPA requests that were like basically require something additional later on or some kind of additional piece at the end. I would say this sounds like it's like a one and done.
Yep.
Situation. So, for use of that type of fund is, I mean, that money, once it's gone, is used. We have to spend it, but it will never be supplemented by anything else either. You know, I think this is one of the types of things that they were looking at when they made that bill.
so are you making a motion that,
I'm not, I'm saying if you're looking for a fund to use it from, I'm saying that,
It fits.
I'm not saying whether to approve it or not, but.
Yeah.
it-
yeah,
be a good investment. It's a good thing.
Alright, I wanna echo what both these guys have said. Everything costs money these days, and I'm not one to, kind of one that doesn't like to spend money, so, but I think sometimes, there are projects and situations where, some things are worth the money and,
Yep.
and peace of mind sometimes. So, I guess I'm gonna entertain a motion to give, or to pass this and send it to the council for their, I guess their look at and whether they approve it or not.
Would you be specifically
I
making
would.
that for
Yeah.
ARPA use?
When,
If you're gonna do that, I'm fine with that, and I do think it meets all the criteria. I would ask you to table it though, because it's for ARPA. I did not know that this was gonna be, I didn't have any information.
well, I don't think
before
we're on a
today's meeting.
deadline or anything,
So-
he brought it up last year and I asked him to bring it up again, so.
Could you, at our next meeting, I'll have a resolution prepared that we can send to council, and then they can know exactly
Okay.
what, we're approving, and then, again, I just think for record keeping purposes, when we get audited for the ARPA, we'll have each of these in kind of resolution format.
Gotcha. Sounds good.
That sounds official. So I'll entertain a motion to table this until our next meeting, so.
second that? Or
I made a mo-
I'll make a
make-
motion.
Randy makes a motion to table this till our next meeting so we can get a resolution assigned to it.
I'll
Greg?
second that.
Greg seconds it, I'll make it unanimous, so.
Okay.
And for the record, I'm all right with it, I know that that's what's going.
It is a double-edged sword, but you want to just pass those down. All right, yeah, it's a double edge, but, all right, so next thing is the Scott County Transfer Station internet pricing. I know we talked about this, I don't know if it was in a meeting or I think we brought it up, and Zach said to get 3 quotes for this. I did reach out to Frontier and they cannot service the area. I reached out to Spectrum and I was in contact with our area representative. Never got a quote, and this has been 3 weeks. I have emailed him numerous times, no response. The first email he stated that they would have to go out and do a site survey. Never got the results from the survey, so I was done with that. So
So is this with Citizen?
this is with the city, and the pricing is, so you got 1 to 5 year contract options at those prices, or you can do a month to month no contract, but it has a $400 one-time installation fee.
So the installation fee, if we go with a year-to-year contract or
It's
up to
built
5,
in.
it's built in.
Correct.
So is this 4146 a monthly rate
Yep.
for 5 years?
Correct. And whatever price, if you want to go with this, I did bring contracts. If you want to go with this, I can handle this in my budget, so there will be no additional monies needed.
Now Seared would be that building there, they would have access to the internet too, right?
What was it?
The Seared, recycling building,
Yes.
the,
Yeah, the whole area will be
okay,
a Wi-Fi. There'd be plenty of signal there, so you can be running around the whole area there and pick it up.
It'd be, what they do is they come out and they put a dish up,
yeah,
and then you'll have a,
I'll put the hot spots out there, and I'll probably put outdoor ones and point them around, so it will just make the whole area really good and strong. So, and to be honest, I know, like, 4146 is not a bad price for 5 years. I would almost be better with a 2 or 3 year contract, just in case something comes up down the road we want to change or something. So.
I think we're always gonna have that Seared out there though.
And the city also did say that if we have 1, 2 down the road to get fiber out there, it's doable, but it is a bigger project that will take some time to roll
More
out.
money to install too, right?
There will be a pretty hefty install charge, because I think they've got to put down 20 poles, they said, to get it there.
I thought there was fiber down that road.
I don't think so. I think that it is, but it stops at a point.
Stops that telephones.
I
Building,
could not tell
'Cause I
you.
remember it being put in, but, cause I think we tore it up one time,
No,
digging a ditch or
Oh,
doing something,
jeez.
and I think we cut it,
hit it. Oops.
so.
Yeah, Frontier, he emailed me, he said they don't have any hubs or any kind of fiber nodes in that area to provide it, so that was a done deal.
Question?
I would go with the 2-year pricing, 2-year contract, if that's okay.
The 6146,
Yep. I would
and
want
that's
to
the
go.
final cost?
That's the final cost. That's starting out to the end, $61.46.
That's your recommendation?
That's my recommendation.
So there's $400 install cost and then.
That's for no contract.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see that now, I'm sorry.
I think what he's saying is if we pick a 1 through 5 year contract,
Right.
they install for free, so.
Yeah, and it's up to you guys. To be honest, the month to month, I can do a 400 up front. That too, if we don't want to have a contract at all, if we don't want to sign a contract at all, I'm fine with that. So if we do want to move or do anything, we can just stop the service. That's it. I actually feel better with that, to be honest.
To do the,
Just do the month to month, no contracts.
I mean, all it's gonna cost you is $400.
Yeah, I can make it happen.
so I mean, everything else is going up on a regular basis. Is this stuff not going up?
Nope.
So you feel comfortable that next year the price would be 41, 46?
Yeah, and I work close with them, and I know they'll do us right, so.
Question.
Here's what I suggest. I think we should table this again, until we can, look at that a little more and figure out,
Are you talking about what we're doing with the landfill?
yeah. And it's not to insinuate to anybody watching that I'm doing anything, it's just that, you know, there's a lot of things been talked about, and, you know, there's been talk, you know, since I've come on this board that, you know, potential contracting that out there. I don't know if somebody else would be willing to take those costs, so.
If, say we would do this, does the city give you any timeline of how long it'd take them to get it out there?
Week, 2 weeks max if it's bad weather.
Alright, so that's, I mean, I guess where I was asking,
Yeah,
by the time we decide what we're gonna do with the landfill, you know, it might, if you're saying it'd take them 6 months to get out there, then, you know, or 3 months or whatever, then
yeah.
our discussions are gonna happen before then, so.
Yep, Stacy said a week, and she said if something comes up, it could be a matter of days, just, you know, a few days.
Alright,
I
so,
understand, we
Oh, I
have to
get
have it, but I just felt like that.
I
That's-
kinda feel like we're gonna use it. I kinda feel like we're gonna use it regardless, because even if nobody takes it over, we need to establish some type of payment system out there that can go on credit card and get rid of the cash handling.
And that's why I suggest we take.
well, if we don't have anything else set up, credit cards or machines or whatever to even have the internet out there yet, I mean,
Well, you can do that on the phone app nowadays. You don't have to. But, I mean, do you think it'll go up if we wait?
No, you'll be fine. And if it goes up a little bit, that's fine. If it goes up, it's gonna be $1 or $2 or something. My
their
bad.
rates don't change.
Will he have
Yeah,
to,
their rates are,
will he have to get quotes again and everything, Zach, if we table it?
No, if you do,
It's a service.
Okay.
yeah, if
it's
we,
a service contract also, and I don't think that this is one that would, I think that system of quoting on those types of issues is really because the commissioners have adopted kind of a policy that that's what you want. But if you're willing to accept the quotes and move forward, I don't think there's any issue.
then we don't have, like I said, the month to month's fine, no contracts, but it just whenever you guys feel like you're ready to move on it. And cause I can call right over there and just say, hey, it might be in there 2 weeks, it might be a month, and that's perfectly fine, they'll work with us.
Okay. Well, I don't have a problem waiting then, to see what we're gonna do. Cause when we come up with that plan, whatever it's gonna be, I mean, we're gonna probably have to come up with a plan of, like you're saying, with using cards and debit cards and
Yep.
stuff like that. So that's gonna be in a further discussion with, you know, whatever the plan is, so. And like I said, if price isn't gonna go up and they're fine to do it whenever we say, hey, let's do it, so let's just wait until we can figure out the other part first.
Okay.
So, alright. I
And
don't think we need a motion or anything, but it really wasn't, we haven't really talked about it, we'll just bring it back.
okay. Last thing is I did contact Baldwin's Recycling. We haven't had an auction in quite some time, and I am overflowing in the corrections garage and the basement with just junk computers, cords, keyboards, mice, and that's not really worth anything, and they will accept e-waste. Of course, I'm not just gonna go throwing away something that I know we could recoup some money on, And that's another thing I wanna talk to you guys about, is getting permission to start a eGov account.
Is that an auction account?
To actually sell stuff that might be worth some money than taking it to auction and it not selling at all or getting bottom dollar, so.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
Okay.
So, by consensus, we're fine with that.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm not gonna be throwing away anything that I feel I know that's worth some
Well, I
money we
know
can
that's why
recoup.
that's why you've been holding on to it, so.
So we need to vote on the ego.
I think we can we just,
You could
by
table it.
consensus? No, we're talking about him having an eGov account so that he can sell stuff online like the sheriff does, the highway garage does. And I think we just gave him permission.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Awesome.
I would approve it, I would do it by vote.
okay, that's what we're asking, whether it's consensus or the other. I'll entertain a motion to give Andrea, the approval to, get an eGov auction account, so.
I'll make the motion.
Randy makes a motion to give him the authority to start an eGov account. Greg?
I'll second.
Greg seconds that and I'll make it unanimous, so there you go.
Awesome, thank you. You guys got anything else for me?
Thank you for bringing all this.
Yes, no
Thanks
problem.
for the computers.
No problem. And, next, I'll probably get with you guys here soon. Next meeting, we will do a real good paperless test, get that bad boy fired up and be able to start
And that's-
utilizing
That was
everything.
the question I was gonna ask, cause, to have PowerPoints, I know if we wanna do it off our computer, we can click there and do it.
Mhm.
But if we wanna have the agenda up there so that we get rid of the paper agenda, I mean.
Yep.
Without blocking one of our computers up.
We can have it up there the whole time and
Okay.
make
That's-
it sit there and scroll down if it's big, and we can do all sorts of
Okay.
stuff, so.
Alright,
Good.
Thank you.
thank you.
Alright, guys.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Miss Michelle.
Evening. We have some table board appointments, and then I also have a service agreement, I would like to talk about if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, I apologize, some of you got yellow paper, Jenny's printer ran out of paper, and I could only find yellow. Whoops. So, Zach, this is the one I sent you yesterday.
I don't know if I saw it.
Yeah, I sent it to you, and I said, does the commissioner need to approve this, and you said, yes, I do.
A lot has happened.
I'm sorry. So basically, this is just for us to get a credit card machine through VitalCheck, and this would also allow people to order birth and death records online. The person who's using a credit card, whether it be they can do birth, death, any service that we provide at the health department, they can use their credit card for. It would just charge them $2.50
To use the card?
to use their card.
Or us or them.
The customer would pay it. But then of course we'll still accept check or cash, so they're not forced to pay that $2.50, it's just if they want to use their credit
Do
card.
they do this in other counties?
They do, yep, and the state uses VitalCheck.
That's what I was wondering, it's just to make sure that there's some type of history there in
Yes.
terms of like the ability
Yeah.
to maintain.
Right, so right now, if you were to go on to, like, if you just Googled Scott County birth certificate online, it would direct you to VitalCheck. And then you would send your request in, they submit all their identification requirements, and then right now, since we're not a county partnered with VitalCheck, it would just go to the state, and it could take anywhere from 90 to 180 days for someone to get their birth certificate. If we partner with VitalCheck, the money comes to us, and then if it's like expedited, VitalCheck collects that fee and sends us the postage, so we don't pay any additional for postage or anything like that. So it's just a way for us to have more revenue coming into the health department and move into the 21st century with some credit card machines.
But also with that, what Zach was asking, this doesn't keep anybody's, I mean, they have a fail-safe,
Yes.
you know,
Mhm.
where they can't get anybody's personal information. or-
Correct.
I just wanted to make, well, that and mainly just like some of those records are only certain people can
Mhm.
request them.
Yes, and we have the ability to deny, so if somebody submits it and say for some reason VitalCheck didn't catch that their ID was expired, we have the right to deny that request, and then they would, VitalCheck would just refund that money to them,
Okay,
because they,
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanna ask, if there's a fail-safe.
yep. So, and if you look at like the first two, it's like, there's no expense for us to have the service. They cover the expense of that, they cover the expense of training, replacing equipment, all of that. So, of course, they get the
So we don't
$2.50
even,
cents.
so we're not buying anything.
Correct. But I don't remember reading a minimum amount of terms.
That's what I
The
was
reason
thinking.
I said to bring it to you guys is not because we're purchasing anything necessarily, it's more just, we're signing a services agreement that allows a third party to manage, requests for records. And I think that the public records statute requires that.
Yeah, so it says it's a period of 1 year minimum and then a 60-day written notice after that. So,
Okay. Randy, you got any questions?
This contract is for 1 year.
yeah, it's that very last, or, let's see,
It's
number 10.
10.
Okay.
Just kind of a win-win in my opinion, like we're
Yeah, I'm fine.
allowing people to use their credit card and pay online, so people who don't live in the state, they don't have to, right now they have to mail in a copy of their driver's license, print out the application form online, get a money order, mail all that in, wait for us to get it in the mail it back to them, so if they need it for something like a passport or a cruise or something like that, it's not a very timely process.
I didn't do that. Yeah, I think it's a great deal, and it's a year. And if
Yeah.
it doesn't work for you, then
Right.
just, you're done. Yeah.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to allow the health department to enter into an agreement with Vital Check, is that the name of the company?
Yes,
Vital Check, for a year contract, for a credit card machine that will be technically a third-party machine, so.
I'll make a motion.
Randy makes a motion to allow the health department to enter into an agreement with Vital Check. Randy, or Greg?
I'll second that.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so.
I'll also have you sign and date that copy for me.
You wanna put it in?
Oh, okay, sure, yes.
It's today, the first.
Today's the first, yes.
There you go.
Thanks. And then my board appointments that you guys tabled last time. So we have, a 4-year term for our health officer, Dr. Rogers, a 4-year term for Dr. Busey, and then a 4-year term for, Burley Gooden.
Alright, so, Mr. Gooden,
Dr. Busey,
Dr.
Charles Busey, I should specify, sorry.
Dr. Rogers. You guys got any discussion of any of these four, or I guess let's just take the two appointments first, and then we'll have the health director
Okay.
be last. Actually, I got that too. So, just to clarify to everybody, the people on the board have to be made up of certain criteria for a lot of these board appointments. There has to be 2 doctors, then there has to be a social worker, could be a pharmacist, could be an engineer, could be,
Hospital administrator,
could be a
dentist,
hospital administrator. yeah.
veterinarian.
And then there's 2 appointments that are just layman people, which are just people of the county that
General public is what
didn't
they're
fall
specified.
into, fall into any of those categories. I know the last board appointment we made was, Lincoln Taylor's, replacement was Dr. Avery. So that would leave Dr. Avery and Dr. Crosdale on the board, so.
Correct.
So, the 2 appointments, from these last time they were, up for appointment was, 1/1 of 2019, so these, we'll have 1, coming up next year, so.
Yes.
So,
And you can have more, and it's a minimum of 2 doctors, but we could have all 7 people be doctors if you wanted to. It doesn't,
got that many in the 10?
no, but I mean, if you wanted to. For Clark County or other big, counties,
Yeah.
it's just a minimum amount.
Yeah.
Clark County does not have 7 members who are doctors.
Yeah. Randy, you got any comments, questions, or?
I mean, are we gonna go ahead and do it tonight, or?
So I
Okay.
prefer, cause we're supposed to turn them into
They're
the
under a
state.
deadline.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was
They
due
turn
yesterday.
things in, I think, by
Yesterday.
January 31st.
I mean,
But I feel
everyone
like the
keeps their
State Department
position.
Is pretty, or the State Department of Health is pretty,
Yeah, we've always done them around end of January, beginning of February, and they've never said, hey, you're late again. But, and with Indiana code, everyone keeps their position until,
It's filled.
yes, until it's filled, so there's never a void, especially like with the health officer, that's a very important position to not have void. So yeah,
Oh, I'd like to nominate somebody.
So,
correct me if I'm wrong, do we need to like vote on the reappointments and turn those down, and then if they want to nominate somebody, or just nominate?
you can nominate.
But what about the 5 names on the list?
All that the statute says is that you
5 names.
certify the 5 names.
Remember we had to do that for,
5 names on the list, what are you talking about?
remember when Lincoln resigned, I had to give you guys 5 names? That's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
I'm saying like right now,
Whenever
there's not a vacancy,
whenever
I'm
there's
asking for a
potential
reappointment.
vacancy, the health board certifies, I'm sorry, the health board.
The health board provides
The
5
health
names,
board
I think
provides
is what
5
it
names,
reads.
the 5 names meet certain criteria, at least one of whom must be a licensed physician.
Correct.
They certify the names to you.
Mhm.
I will say again that at that point, it's your all's decision on whether you would appoint any one of those 5 or someone else.
okay.
But since this is a reappointment, that's what I'm asking, do they need to vote on the reappointment and then move into that, or they can just, by
I think
nominating
if they
somebody
just
as that?
don't reappoint, then I think
Okay.
it's kind of meant for,
So then is that a void, and then that's what I'm asking, like, do you go into the 5-name rule?
If you,
so you have not,
So I'm saying like right now, there's not a void because there's not been a decision made. So then if you say we're turning down this appointment, then there's a void, and then does that fall into the 5 names, or are you just saying,
oh, I would consider the end of a term as a potential vacancy. I realize statute says you serve until, but if, I mean, if you wanna.
Yeah, I
they can
don't-
fill that
it's
if
not
they
like we're
want to.
replacing, we're not replacing anybody at this time, cause these 2 people's, or actually 3 terms are up. So, what you're saying is that we
like-
can take her recommendations, or we can not even, we don't have to vote them down, we can just give 1, 2, or 3 of our recommendations.
so on this form, I would just put, this is a new appointee, fill out that part on it, okay, okay, I'm just making sure.
Alright, so Randy, back to you.
I'd like to have Geraldine Williams put on there.
First
so,
off, do we have 2 lay people who are already on the board?
no.
We have 1.
Yeah, I don't even know if you would
Mr.
consider.
Gooden was the one.
Yeah, I mean, he used to be school superintendent, he's retired, so I don't know, I've always just checked school superintendent, but I guess you can consider him general public too, if you, whatever you feel like is best suited. But Geraldine, are you a nurse?
Alright.
Yeah, she's RN, so she falls under the
I'm just trying to figure out
certification
if we go through a list.
bucket.
I just wanna make sure we don't.
Yeah.
Cross up.
Yeah.
So. Greg, you, want a discussion on that, or? You wanna-
Randy's?
It's Randy's appointment of,
I would second that.
so, okay, so there's a motion from Randy for Geraldine Williams to serve on the, Scott County Health Board as an RN. You are an RN, I thought you were. And so Randy makes a motion, Greg seconds that.
Do they need to clarify which seat that would replace? Since
I
there's
would
2?
clarify, in this circumstance,
Does it really matter?
we have 1 vacancy, we're
We have
Two.
2 reappointments.
2 reappointments.
Yeah,
Then I don't think it matters,
okay.
unless you're going to appoint, I mean, you
Well, I
could
mean, we
pick
can-
one of those to a reappoint
Yeah.
if you did,
Okay.
so no.
Okay,
So Randy makes a motion, to appoint Geraldine Williams to the board as an RN, and Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so there's one. All right, on the second one, I'll entertain a motion for anybody else that, has, a nominee for the second board member.
I'll make a motion to nominate Gary Hubbard on that board.
Greg makes a nomination to appoint Gary Hubbard to the Scott County Health Board. Randy, you got any discussion on that, or?
I'll second that.
can I have a discussion real quick?
Yeah.
Are we within our 4 without a nomination?
You're for.
My 4 of one political party?
Um,
Cause I don't know, I assume what political party they are, but I don't wanna, I did that last time, I'm assuming.
Geraldine's actually a Democrat.
What? I think we should be good then.
yeah, you have, I mean, the list I'm looking at, you have 3 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and 2 others, so as
Okay.
long as you didn't appoint.
We could get 2 others.
You could, yeah. As long as you didn't appoint.
I just haven't,
2 Democrats, I mean, I don't think there's a mathematical way where you could go above
okay,
a single party.
I just wanted to make sure. Cause like I said, I didn't, beforehand, I usually call the clerk and verify all the stuff, so I don't have that information.
I think we're good.
Okay,
So Greg nominates Gary Hubbard to be the other, board appointee, and I'm gonna say he's gonna be general public. So, or layman, or however you wanna say that. So, Greg makes a motion, Randy.
I second it.
Randy seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so.
okay.
I
will, get with you, cause I have to get your signature on those, so I'll have to get their addresses and contact information. If somebody has that and can email that, I obviously have Geraldine's, but, Mr. Hubbard, if somebody wants to send me his cell phone number
She
or
has to
something.
certify this list for you.
That's fine.
Yes, and then Mike, I'll just text you to maybe stop by and get your signature.
will.
Okay. On the
Actually, I'll be around tomorrow, so.
Okay,
Alright, the last board appointee we have is,
Did you make a motion to allow him to certify that list outside of the meeting?
I'll entertain a motion that allow me to sign that, certify that paperwork after this meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes that motion, Greg
Second.
seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so I'll, come by tomorrow, sign that.
okay.
The other appointment we have is, for, the Scott County, what's the official terminology?
He's the health
director?
officer, county health officer.
County Health Officer. So any discussion on that particular, appointment?
Does anybody have anybody going?
Sorry, I keep interrupting, but I just wanna make sure this is done right. This is different.
This is
Can you
different.
explain?
This is different. So, in this particular circumstance, let's see. If the appropriate county legislative body fails to approve the nominated individual on 2 separate occasions, so actually the health board nominates particular individuals. If they nominate it, you fail to appoint on 2 separate occasions, that
Same person.
individual, the same person, that person is removed from further consideration.
Okay.
So, on this one, you would have to consider the nomination and either approve or deny, and then we would have to do that again.
Until you approved.
And then,
So you, on the third time, you would have to bring somebody different.
Correct, or on, next time, or,
Yeah.
it's a yes or no, not a nomination, I
Okay,
think is what I was
that's fine.
trying to say.
Alright, I guess what I'll do is then I'll entertain a motion to, accept or deny, however the motion goes, Dr. Rogers as the, reappointment for the again, tell me it's a
County health officer.
county health officer, I'll write that down so I don't forget
You're
that.
fine.
I'll make a motion to deny.
Alright, Randy makes a motion tonight to deny the, approval of Dr. Rogers as a county health officer. Is there any discussion, or I guess, Craig, you got a comment?
I'll second that.
I'll second that, and I'm gonna make that unanimous, so, I guess,
I will try to come back to you guys in your next meeting with an appointment from the health board, right?
So, yeah, I mean, the statute says you can come back again and ask the same
Right,
question,
and that's up to the health board, that's not up to
but
me.
that's up to the health board.
Right,
Um,
and if we can have a
and
meeting,
if they have yeah, you all could call a meeting and
right,
discuss either coming with the same or,
right. If we needed to have a special meeting where they just voted on that, could we do that or no? Does that not fall under a special meeting? Just get with them.
you can call a meeting,
I meant a health board meeting, whatever. I'm talking about their meeting to vote
their
on it.
meeting. We would need to know at least 48 hours in advance, but as long as we notice the special meeting to address health officers specifically,
Okay,
then yes, we will vote.
okay,
Our notice for a special meeting has to state what we are discussing.
yes, okay. And then Mike, I'll get with you tomorrow and back then.
I got a meeting in New Albany with, Baptist Health. And by the way,
They got approved,
got approved,
good today.
got approved, I
That's
knew
today.
that Tuesday,
Got the
but
email.
I couldn't say anything.
Some good news.
Okay, thank you guys.
So, thank you, appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
But you could be getting with Geraldine, letting her know when the
Yeah, I mean,
appointment or meeting, so.
yes, yeah, I mean, she'll have to be at the next meeting to appoint the health officer.
Yeah.
good point.
Amanda's not here, but, I think, I'm gonna discuss this a little bit about the county, corrections advisory board, and I'm gonna ask Zach to help me out here a second. We were told initially that from Amanda, that we had 4 appointments. Further investigation with you're saying we have up to 9 appointments. So, I know she's wanting that particular, some names and stuff, but they fall into several categories, and I mean, it's juvenile probation officer, it's psychiatrist, it's someone with the school, I mean, there's several criterias, and then there's some, I call them laymen.
And I think maybe we need to ask Amanda, do we have people who are currently on that board who meet that criteria? Because, and who appointed them, how'd they get there?
That's a good question, because I've been a commissioner for 6 years, and we've never appointed anybody to that board, so.
And so, let's see. Trying to see the total term on that.
I do know from past, I guess, relationships with them,
40
there were at least 7 or 9 people on that board. But to my knowledge, I don't know if council or commissioners or either one have put anybody on that board ever, so.
I don't think council has.
Council does not have an appointment, but we actually can appoint a member of council to the
Yeah.
board.
It says fiscal body.
Can I make a comment?
Yes,
I'm from Hendricks County, I'm on their Community Corrections Advisory Board.
well, there you go.
Typically, our board just made those nominations and voted for them.
Made your nominations for what?
Right, so like if we wanted to appoint a new member, we would just take a vote on somebody that we've nominated during that meeting that fits those parameters.
Well, that
Could be doing it the wrong way.
that may,
No.
well, I mean, that may work in the sense that, well, they're, let's see. The board consists of certain people, so like county sheriff, he's just on it, prosecuting attorney, they're on it. the executive of the most populous municipality, they're on it. The two judges having criminal court jurisdiction, they're on it. One judge having juvenile, he's on it. One public defender. One victim or victim advocate, if available, appointed by the county executive. One ex-offender, if available, appointed by the county executive. So that's actually two more that I didn't put in that email. The director of the local office of Department of Child Services, they're on it. A representative from a juvenile correctional facility, if a center exists. If no facility exists, one mental health representative chosen by the judge. A representative from the Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative, but if no program exists, a representative from the court-appointed special advocate program in the county. And the following members, all appointed by the county executive, or in a county have a consolidated city by the city county council. We don't have a consolidated city, so one member of the county fiscal body, one probation officer, one juvenile probation officer, one educational administrator, one representative of a private correctional agency if such agency exists, one mental health administrator, or if none is available, one psychiatrist, psychologist, or physician, 4 laypersons. So I'm not saying that that is right or wrong, but it's not what I would say the statute says on who does the appointments, so.
So the, go ahead, I'm sorry. Who do we have that's vacant? Are they lay people or are they?
Well, that's what I think we need to ask is, you know,
We don't know. Okay.
do we have a member of the county fiscal body who's on that?
No, but she had asked me to, not currently, but she had asked me to be on it,
Amanda had?
yes.
Okay, so
That would
you got
be-
one person on the fiscal body willing to do it, potentially?
I guess.
I'm assuming that Amanda might be the probation officer, but I don't know now that she's technically the director, whether she should really be sitting
Well,
on
I'd
the board
say-
or not.
Scott Poole or somebody's probably, his probation is probably on that board, so.
Yeah, that's right, I'm sorry, Scott Poole, not, she's the director of community
Yeah.
corrections.
So I mean, I'd just like to know what the format of the board is right now, so that we know who we need to put on
Yeah,
there.
because I think the general statement of, like, we have 4 appointments is a little, we have more than 4 appointments.
Okay, well,
And I don't know, like, sometimes prosecutors' offices have a victim's advocate who works in the office. That qualifies as one person that you could appoint under the statute, so we probably need to talk with their office and see.
let me, touch base with her and see about, who's on the board and what the makeup is and what she believes is the board appointments that we need to be filling, so.
Yeah. I think that's
So-
probably a good idea, and,
So we'll table this again, so.
I think considering it's probably not been done in a while, I think we probably wanna get it right when we do it. So,
Yeah, I think, like I said, we,
next time these come up, we can kinda,
I know that, like, again, I've never appointed anybody to this board and I think even the form that I have here that was printed 2 years ago, it said tabled on it too, so that we didn't do it in the last,
also some counties have joint community corrections advisory boards, so I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I don't know how it all works.
I don't know if he was put on as a fiscal body or if he was.
well, he worked for corrections at one time, so, but
But
like
he
I
was
said,
on it.
I think he was the county council designate at some point.
he could have been. But let me verify with her who's on it and what the makeup is, and we'll see what we need to do.
I think that's a
so.
good place to start.
So,
It's a large board, it's
Yeah.
probably the largest board in
I think there's,
for sure,
I know at
There's
least
like
9, I think
potentially
14.
15 people.
Yeah. All right, let's move on from that then. I'll reach out to her and get some clarification for our next meeting, so. You got anything else on that, or you good? Randy, you good with that? No, it's kind of a
I agree with you.
messed up thing. River Hills, WAR grant, what do we know about that?
Okay, we have an application for $1,500, and it's an application fee. that has been before you guys, you have signed that.
This one from last meeting when she came in at, and we asked
I
her to
think that
do
was like in
something.
the end of December, that was approved there. It has not gone before the council yet and been approved.
So it
there's-
just needs approved.
Yeah, and there will be an $8,000, I forget, there's an $8,000 fee coming up for the, I think of the word, the grant fee.
Oh,
There's an application fee in
prepare
there to prepare the grant, yes.
okay. All right, I'll entertain them. What, is it exactly $1,500?
That is, and you've already voted on that one. That's already been approved through the commissioners in December.
So we just need to vote to send it to the council?
Yes, it just needs to go to the council.
Okay, so I guess I'll entertain a motion to send this, bill for River Hills for $1,500 for the WAR grant to, the council for approval and payment.
I'll make that motion to the council to pay $1,500 somehow.
Randy makes a motion to send the $1,500 bill for the WAR grant that we approved in December of 2022 to the council for payment. Greg?
I'll say.
Greg seconds that, I'll make it unanimous, so.
You know, this is a good job, really, when you can send bills off to somebody else to pay. That's,
It's whether they pay them or not.
yeah,
See, Bob.
See you, Bob.
All right,
dream job.
SRI, Mr. Edwards and Mr. Puckett.
Thank you.
As you just said, my name's Jason Puckett. Joe Edwards here, he's retiring tomorrow, so I'll let him stay seated over there. We're just here today to talk to you guys about having a certificate sale. We've been doing you guys' tax and certificate sales for the last 20 years or so. We've spoken with Missy, the treasurer. She's on board to have a certificate sale. I know Jennifer's new, so she had a couple questions. So we're just here to answer any questions for you. Basically what it is all the properties that did not sell at the tax sale, you guys are now the lucky owners of the certificates to those properties, and you have the opportunity, if you'd like to have another public auction, to try and get some of those sold and put back into the hands of folks that will actually pay the taxes, hopefully.
So do we have a list?
Yes, if you look at the resolution that's included in your folder there, on the very last page is an Exhibit A that lists the 16 properties that we could put up for auction. You guys can adjust that list as you see fit, so if there's anything on there you don't want to sell, we could pull it off. Basically what we would need here is a date that you guys want to have this sale, if you want to have it, and then if you do want to have it, we need to sign the resolution, sign the contract with us, and determine what you want to set the minimum bids for those properties to.
Well, I see one on here that we just gave to the city of Austin, so
And that could be if we just haven't gotten it updated in our
I'm
system.
thinking it's the
yet.
same property, but
Yeah,
I have
it
a
is.
question.
Sure.
I have a question that, you're saying that if we agree to do this, it'd be set up and would it be another like tax sale?
Exactly,
Or
yeah.
would it be an auction or what?
Right, I'd come out on whatever day you guys so chose, we'd hold a public auction, bidders would come in and they could bid on these properties. The only real difference is the time frame. Like with a tax sale, there's a whole year that the homeowner can come in and pay off what they owe. This is only gonna be like 120 days.
So there's 100.
So there's our avenue we was looking for.
Yeah.
It's just a much faster process.
Have we done this with you before?
I believe we have, is that right, Joe?
It's been a few years, but we've done a certificate sale before.
Well, I don't wanna rush into this. I wanna look
Sure,
at this
absolutely.
because I'm seeing some items on here, especially with the B&O Railroad,
Mm-hmm.
that I wanna look at and at least give some property owners some heads up because I do know one instance where a gentleman bought 27 acres. He had it surveyed and took in the railroad property, and has been paying taxes on it. And he had to come in and do some legal work here in the courthouse to make it his.
Correct.
Cause B&O just walked away from a lot of this property. And then I had another lady that says, I got 10 acres of my dad's property that was the railroad, and now, you know, when I come to the courthouse, they're saying it's not mine. So
Right.
I want to give those people especially the opportunity to come in and clear that up before
Absolutely.
we sell it out from underneath.
Like I
them.
said, we can all the way up till the day of the sale. If you guys decide to pull a property off, we'll pull it off.
Well, there's actually, on a situation like that you could
Well,
buy property that you would have to trespass to get to.
That's
the
exactly
audit.
right. Well, but you can't be landlocked with property in the state of Indiana, so. But I wanna see it, cause I pulled every B and O property in the county, and only one resident had went out there and reclaimed that property after B and O walked
Right.
away from it.
I know there was a lawsuit at one point that was
Yeah,
settled,
back in
and
the
some of them
80s.
were given away, and a lot of counties just missed assigning those to the right
Yeah, I
people.
just wanna make sure we're clear on this end before we sell somebody's property.
Yeah,
That
absolutely,
it's very clear to
absolutely.
them, so. Can we, how long does it take for you to set up a sale if we do that?
At this point, the earliest we could do it would probably be sometime in April, because we do have some advertising that we have to do beforehand, make sure we've checked all of our boxes.
So it's a couple of months out,
Yeah, exactly.
and you don't have a criteria of when you wanna do
You
that?
probably are gonna wanna do it before taxes start getting collected in May. Otherwise, that's gonna be a little bit of a hiccup for the treasurer and the auditor.
Okay.
We don't need those. No hiccups.
And we've done them as late as June,
Yeah, we can do them that late, it's
but
just,
after collection.
Well, I mean, I'm just talking for myself here, but I just wanna verify the ones with B and O.
Yeah.
Because, I do know 3 or 4 circumstances where people did the right thing, but it's not recorded correctly.
right.
So I wanna give them the opportunity to kinda clear theirs up before
Yeah,
it looks like
absolutely.
they're gonna.
And no pressure at all, but like I said, if you did approve it today and you decided tomorrow to pull half of them off, we can do that. And I will say all of those were offered for tax sale in October. So I would assume that the treasurer and auditor researched those pretty thoroughly before we offered them for sale.
So we're talking about $114,986.66 cents worth of taxes that.
That would not get collected because your minimum bid would be less than what that's what we offered those for at the tax sale.
That's what the minimum bid was at the tax sale.
Correct, right. So your minimum bids for those would have to be below that.
Okay, but that's what revenue we have lost
Correct, yep,
technically.
yep.
Well, as we said a couple of weeks ago in another meeting, when we, gave a property to a city so that they could, redo it or whatever and get it back on the tax roll, we don't have to get this back, all this stuff back on the tax roll, so, we're losing out there. Another question I have is is there a fee associated with this?
Yeah, not one that you guys would have to eat. It's 15% of whatever we collect, so if the minimum bids, if
So
we
you
end
work
up
off commission,
basically on this particular sale, yes.
15% of the
Of
total
whatever
gross?
we sell it for, yeah, so if they all sold, 15% of whatever your minimum
Okay.
bids were, yeah.
Okay. You guys got any questions? Randy?
Nope.
Greg?
Wow, this is good.
I think it's a good deal.
Glad to hear from you.
I'll ask you a question. Where did you say you were from?
Hendricks County. I was in the auditor's office of Hendricks County for almost 12 years. So I was on the Community Corrections Advisory Board as their financial
And
person.
your last name's Puckett?
Yep,
Your relative was not an excise cop at one time, was he?
no, not that I know of.
Well, the name's unusual, and I knew a guy back in the 70s and 60s that was an excise state cop, so.
There's a few of us floating around. There's an auditor that's a Puckett as well.
Yeah, he was actually from North Vernon, so.
Gotcha.
So, anyway,
We'll be in touch then with the auditor and treasurer, and if you guys decide we can come back out here, answer more questions.
I don't think you need to come back, but I mean, we can bring it up on the next meeting, and I think we'll have enough information between
Okay.
us that we could probably vote it, and you wouldn't have to come back, and Jennifer can just get hold of you.
Sounds good.
All right,
Appreciate your time.
all right, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate
Be
it.
careful going home.
Yeah, I won't be coming back.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
I turn that fear of missing out into the joy of missing
There you go.
Not easy to adjust to, but I'm gonna hang on, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Marty.
I passed out a little packet
What
for
kind?
you.
Looks like that.
That, like, just like that. Randy has one.
I have.
Okay. It starts off with our January activities. Even though we had as many permits as we did last January, which last January is connected, stapled to that. Of course, our fees were down, and the valuation added to the county was down. Should be the next page, right after the, no, next page. Keep going.
That's the last page.
It's the second page, Randy.
Oh, the second. So,
Yeah. But anyway, it just solidified the fact that our economy is slowing down. Although I had 2 house permits today, so you just can't tell, and I've had people in wanting, information and, getting ready to do things, so you just don't know. And then secondly, in your packet is a 7-page, and it just says common sense, information about building codes, what is required of the state of Indiana. And of course, if it's required by the state of Indiana, it's required by Scott County. Found that online. I believe that was Washington County that has a tool like that. And copied it off, handed it to Ben, said, would this help you explain things to people? And he goes, well, yeah. So I copied some off, and he's got copies that if he's out at a site and the guy says, well, I don't understand why I need to do that, then Ben can hand that to him and say, this section right here, from the state of Indiana, this is what you need to do. And we do have several people that try to act as their own contractors, or they try to do the work themselves. And of course, Ben is very careful around people like that, because all we want are for people to end up with buildings that are safe and an asset to the county. So we think that will be a valuable tool sooner or later. I can email it out to anyone who has questions as well. Since Ben doesn't do good with emailing, he can ask me to do that for him, and that's no problem either. So we're adding that. And like I say, I found that while I was doing a little survey that the Plan Commission requested that I do. The Plan Commission at their last meeting on January 11th requested this survey so that they could see what other counties are charging for certain things. I advised them at that meeting that our fees schedule, which is the yellow sheet that you'll have, has not been changed apparently since 2004. So immediately there was some call to, well, hey, then you aren't paying your way, are you? And I said, well, no, we're not. So there is some question as to if we need to increase those fees. So nothing on that yet, but that is in the way, and I was asked to inquire if the commissioners would be in favor of that, or would you rather just wait until we get something more settled from the Plan Commission?
Well, as a member of the Area Plan Commission, I about fell out of my chair when I found out that we haven't raised any type of fees, building fees, or excuse me, inspection fees or anything since 2004.
Right.
And just for an instance, I'm gonna just show you something that if for a 1 or 2 family dwelling, the inspection fee is $70, and that includes 7 inspections during the start of the project to the end of the project. So that's $10 every time we drive out there to somebody's house, and we can't even pay for our fuel in that $7. So in that $10, I'm sorry. So a lot of these fees are really, you know, in my opinion, obsolete. I mean, we should have years ago kept raising them every 5 years or something to keep up with other counties probably, and I'm gonna throw another one in here. If a factory wanted to come into Scott County and not be in the city limits, his primary approval rate is $500. So he's gonna build a, multi-million-dollar, facility, and his first permit is gonna be $500. The second permit is $250. So I mean, he's gonna be less than $1,000 out to build a multi-million-dollar plant and on our fee schedule here. So it's really, as a member of that board, and that's a 7-member board, we all, we're pretty much in agreement that we need to pretty much double everything that we had on this schedule, so, and as one member of this board, when we do figure out what those numbers are gonna be, we're gonna have to come back to this board and ask for approval of this schedule, so. But if you'll look down through there, I know you do construction, you're probably going, well, as a contractor, that's good for me.
I can tell you Clark County and Floyd County, all of them is a whole lot higher.
Oh, yeah, guarantee it, they're 3 times probably.
Well, not only that, they're charging for a lot of things that we are not, and I know you have had discussion with Kevin Hall about a driveway permit.
Mhm.
The ones I've talked to, and of course I've only talked to 3 thus far, but they all have driveway permits fees that they charge. It may be $25, it may be $50, but that gives them the opportunity to go out and look at the situation and say, you need a certain size line. Ben has a prime example right next to him. He bought 20-30 acres out in the country just to hunt on. And there was a guy that came down here from Indianapolis, and he bought a similar size and is building a pole barn, building a house and all this stuff. Okay. And Ben says, he's got problems. And I said, what do you mean he's got problems? And he says, well, he didn't call. We always, when we get somebody who's putting in a brand new house, nothing's ever been put on the property before, I say, here's the deal. Call the highway department, they will dig it out, get you the right size pipe and rock it for you. And I said, and the price is competitive. And they, oh, okay. And a lot of them do. And that way you get your highway foreman out there at least, and he can look at it and determine just exactly what is needed to ensure good drainage. And this gentleman did not do that. He got 2 pipes, kind of stuck them together without connecting them, and Ben says they're rising to the top. And so,
But
So
I will say it's, oh, go ahead.
The state for private drive, that permit cost is $55. Commercial drives are $150, and major commercial, which could include different things like passing blisters or maybe something special getting into that drive, that's $600. So, I mean, we're way cheap in the county, and
well, since we don't charge anything, I would say so.
well, and the thing about it is, I know some years ago, I mean, the state we would go out and put culverts in driveways, and the state got out of that business 20 years ago, probably. I know, I talked to Kevin about that too. I think we need to go down something like that.
Well, especially if we're maintaining the ditch line and our roadway, we need to make sure the right pipe's in the ground and not gonna blow out of the ground.
Right.
Cause somebody says, well, it's got enough space to get water out of it. Well, you don't know how much water's coming down the road.
Right.
So.
Which will wash over the road, freeze. And
Yeah, it tears our road up, so I think especially about these, I mean, as a member of that board, I think we, as a board member, I think we're gonna wait till Marty comes back to us with what other counties' prices are, and then we're gonna adjust ours, but pretty much what we've already decided is that we're gonna double everything here, so, And I think we're still probably gonna be cheaper in a lot of places,
You
and,
will.
but we're gonna bring that back to this board whenever we pass it through the other boards, so.
I have spoken to somebody from Clark County and from Jefferson County, and they both advised me, well, now I can send this to you, but you have to understand, our boards are also looking for increases. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, and I think legally, we're gonna have to get away from putting in driveway culverts. It's just, you know, it's not much difference than if we went out and paved somebody's driveway for them, technically speaking. And, I don't know how we've been getting by with it all these years, but on top of which, we sell a culvert for the price that it costs us to buy the culvert, and then we provide 8 ton of rock to put that culvert in at out of our costs. So the county loses money every time we put that in. And like I said, it's absolutely no different than if we brought our paving equipment out there and started paving your driveway for you. There's no difference in it.
Well, I think the only thing I would say to that would be is that, just like, as I said earlier, if we have a dog in the fight, cause it's the drainage of our road and our easement is technically the ditch line, we're making sure it's what
That's why we've been doing that, yes.
We are making sure that what is installed is what we want to be installed.
Yeah.
So,
But
we
that's
either up our price to where we're not losing money doing it, but it's also a benefit, I think, to us to make sure it's right, I mean.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
We're gonna avoid a lot of issues if we're making sure that we know what's going in out there. And,
Yeah.
I mean, we have to maintain drainage, and so, and we also, with the wrong size pipe, you know, we could have overtopping issues on the road, it could open up a lot.
Or not installed correctly.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I've seen that.
Yeah, well, we've had
Been
them
blown
flood.
completely up out of the.
Yeah, we've had them flood too, so.
Yeah.
So, anyway. All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Mark.
Gee, you're welcome.
That was easy.
I could say something, but
I know. Mind your manners. All right, the partnership and cease and thrive.
So you doing tonight?
Doing good. How are you?
I don't think they've ever met with you, Tina.
I'm sorry?
I don't think they've gotten a chance to meet you.
No, I'm Tina Mitchell. I'm actually the community outreach coordinator for Life Spring and Chair of Cease.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
You were here before, I think, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
I thought it was.
I came and sat in the last one,
Yeah.
special meeting.
so just so you all know, I know that you all know that we have a request out for the opioid settlement funds. However, the state, FSSA has actually put out a matching fund, that where as long as you have sign off from your municipality or county commissioners, that they will match that grant. So,
Their disbursement under
What's
the
that?
settlement? Cause they received a disbursement under the settlement.
yeah, they're 25 million that they're using,
Okay.
yeah.
So, clarify.
Mhm.
We give you X amount of dollars, they're going to match what we give you.
They could either give less, but at the minimum they're saying is they're gonna do everything they can to match.
And that's, so technically, what you're saying is that the state has opioid money and they're out of green. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a breakdown, if you go on the website, in.gov, recovery
I actually
settlement.
saw that, I just wanna make sure.
Where
it's
all the
clear.
counties received 35% of the total settlement package for opioid abatement, the state as a whole received an additional 35%.
Yeah.
And then the state got 15 of the unrestricted, and the counties divided up 15 of the unrestricted, so they had the line share of.
And they're still using a certain percentage for their columns, the prevention, the treatment, stuff like that. But then they left 25 million out just to do matching grants for each counties or municipalities. So the reason that I came here today was to have that conversation with you because our grant proposal, the RFF, just came out on the 31st. It has to be in by the 28th. And, right, and so unfortunately, with how everything's running, and the approval from you all,
meet with county council to get the funds, if we did get the funds, we only have one chance to do it. So it's kind of, I don't wanna say free money, but it's a way that the state's matching whatever we wanna put in to the county with working on the Schedule E, which is the core strategies we talked about, and they're saying that they would match the funds.
Did you say there's a deadline on that?
Yeah.
What's the deadline?
The day, I got it right here,
28th.
it's the 28th of February, 4:30 PM.
Yeah, I saw that.
But unfortunately, with the council meeting just once this month,
Well, I'm not talking for the council, but I mean, I don't wanna put any, I mean, if they're matching some money, I mean, that would actually benefit us for the fact that, I'm not saying your first, want was 300,000, I think the second.
still my first one.
The second one was 189,000. So, I mean, if it's a portion of that and the state's gonna come in and add to that, I mean, it's a win-win for us to try to be in that deadline. You got a question? You stood up.
I'm just trying to hear.
Okay.
I do have a question. He said the state would do their best to match. What does that mean, do the best?
Well, I can't guarantee that they're gonna
The
match
state-
every dollar.
The state won't bind itself
Right.
to match every single dollar, I mean, but
They're probably gonna look at the applications and say, hey, here's what we're gonna do.
And I'll be honest with you, with everything that's going on right now, especially in southern counties with the rise of, the overdoses that's going on, and Scott County still has a special place in the heart of the state of Indiana.
Not for anything else.
Well, I'm trying, Mike, I'm trying.
Anyway, when is your meeting?
The 14th, is this the money that you asked for out of the opioid settlement? Okay. Is that what you're asking us to match?
Yeah, no, I'm asking, yeah,
For us to put forward?
put forward, so that way the state will then come back with a match. Which
So
then,
your meeting's on the 14th, you said? Yeah. On Valentine's Day?
Yep,
do we have to bring in candy?
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, I know for one, I'm not ready tonight to pull the trigger, cause I really haven't thought about it. I'm not saying I haven't thought about it, I mean, I haven't dug down deep in the numbers to see where we're at, but,
well, to be, I mean, I can
We
kind
could
of
do it.
address that like a little bit. So the commissioners did approve 60,000
Correct.
from the abatement for use by the health department's director.
Mhm.
I think there was 460,000 total in that section. So that would leave, also I think that EMS has a request that would be somewhere around $200,000.
Of the abatement?
Correct. Which puts it at, is it 300,000?
330, I think.
Well, I don't think it's for the purchase of an ambulance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're talking about something
Yeah,
different, okay.
they run a training institute that deals with Narcan use, responding to opioid overdoses and all the things that qualify. So that's about 260,000, so that would leave
360.
about 200 in that particular fund with 111,000 remaining in unrestricted.
Correct.
That's just some quick math off the top of my head, so.
No.
Um,
And, a piece of this here, cause what my biggest request, is, especially if we say, well, I'm not ready, I wanna talk this. This is an opportunity for us to get some matching funds that we're not gonna get again with this for the rest, when it's over. So even if the ask went down and we said,
Well, even if you got 180 from us and
Right.
we match, that's 360,000.
right, so even if I asked you for,
The original
I
request.
I guess my question would be to the state, why is there a deadline that cripples county government? Cause we're not like them meeting every day up there, I mean, so why would they put a deadline of the shortest month in the year?
Mike, they did, to be honest with you, they did 3 training seminars that happened last week. I was out of town, of course, I attended the one on the 30th. And as soon as this came out on 31st, or I actually asked to be on the schedule before this came out, because I knew it was coming down, just to get this in front of you as soon as possible. So I can't hopefully, you know, if I answered for the state, I would have already given me the money, but
Yeah,
I don't,
like I said,
so.
I don't understand why they're,
Right.
they put a deadline of 28 days technically on us.
Well, I do know that, the projects would start in, I wanna say, June, and they would run until 2025, with that matching funds. So I don't know if that was just to get that piece out, to make sure the money was being spent with the first hit that happened.
Okay. So you said you were with Cease? I can't remember what your ask was.
Mine,
Hers.
was it
I think it was,
low 80, or was that the first one?
I think it was 89.
yeah, I think.
Or they came back and lowered
Sorry,
it with
it's
the.
81.8.
So yours was 81.8.
Yeah, and then I know that the partnership lowered theirs.
Yeah, I heard that today. I'm gonna tell you this, I mean, I'm not ready to act tonight, but I will promise you this. And I guess I'm gonna ask these guys, if we would have a special meeting next week to come back and discuss this and have a number or not have a number, or decide or not decide or whatever, but I really don't like.
I don't wanna pin you down here, but like, I know you came back with a second, like,
Right.
proposal. Are you asking the commissioners to either approve or deny that, the numbers as submitted? Or are you asking the commissioners to come up with an amount of money that they would be willing to? I realize you have a number that you came up with based on the idea of obtaining sustainability.
Correct.
I get that, but
Well, I mean, here we're kind of at the spot, right? Because that money's not gonna be a one-time hit like it would be getting it from the county, right? It would be drawn out over the 2 years. So having the sustainability of the 189 wouldn't look the same, right? So I'll be completely honest with you, my request is now is if we can approve, I mean, anything to go through and go and match, and then we can come back and have another conversation about moving forward again. But I mean, even if we said $100,000, just to get another $100,000 from the state at this point, you know, with what we're trying to do.
I believe that there's also some other lawsuits that are.
There is, however, the other lawsuits, if you're talking about the Walmart and the CVS and those were done by the state. So I know that local municipalities didn't have nothing in that, so what will the state do with that?
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah. So that scares me.
So you're applying for the matching as well, I'm assuming?
Yes, I'll see what we can find.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna ask these two guys, I mean, if they'd entertain us having a special meeting next week. Cause you guys meet the week after, so, so what's your thought?
Yeah, I mean, if you're forcing me to make a decision tonight, my answer's gonna be no. And I don't wanna do that to you, but that's what it would be. My responsibility first is to the county. And the county has took a pretty good hit from all this stuff as well. So it's just not as straightforward as, you guys are doing a great job, which you are, and you guys deserve it, which you do. It just doesn't fall that simple.
And my question to that is, which I'm not asking you to make a decision, obviously if Mike says you can have another meeting, I want you all to dig into this. I'll be honest with you, I want phone calls. I want emails saying, meet with me, tell me exactly what you're doing. Like, I broke it down as simplest as I can, but if you wanna investigate more. But at the same piece of conversation, it's broken down into core strategies, and it's broke down with certain things where this money goes and has and shall have priorities. And so when we talk about shoring up other entities, it's not that easy to say we're gonna take it and put it into this piece to shore up that funding. It really goes to the people doing the work. That's what the abatement pieces go to. So that is what we're talking about. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying, and I know there's other stuff going on, but unfortunately with this one, it's very tied into where it goes, which is the ones doing the work. And so that's what I'm asking to look at where the money can go, because I understand, it would be great if we could take this, I know, I'm sure you got a striker bill that's sitting back there, that'd be great to pay off with it.
It has nothing to do with that.
No, I'm not saying that, Nick, I'm not, no, that, I didn't mean it for that reason, I just meant like it'd be nice to shore up anything that's going on in the county.
Well, but the other part of this is that, echoing on off what Randy just said, or actually you said too, and Zach did as well, is that, you know, we may be able to come up with a number that is a lot less than your first ask or your second ask, because you're gonna get a match.
Correct.
And you could, you know, if there's money left later, you know, we can come back and readdress something, but to the meeting, I mean, would you be up for a meeting next week to discuss, you know, options? Sure. You too?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I think we've already
I
decided
can't,
we
what
want
I'm
to make
saying
a
is,
decision
I can't
tonight.
answer you, because I don't know how much money we have to put towards you. Because there's things that, like an ambulance, that we need, and, there's a lot of things we need. That
But
also,
wouldn't that be decided on the 14th meeting?
no, that'll be what we talk about.
Okay.
We have,
Because I can't give you, I just can't give you an answer yet. I've gotta weigh it all out. I can't.
and I'm gonna be honest here, is that as the ARPA money, I mean, we've had people bring us, you know, ask us for the ARPA money. We've, those are sitting out here in a box, because we haven't reached in the box and said, hey, here's who we're gonna fund, or what we're gonna fund, and how much we're gonna fund. Same thing is with your guys', I won't say your guys, the opioid settlement money. It's sitting in a box too, and we haven't pulled anything out to pay for anything yet, but there's requests in another box, so we haven't decided. And I mean, and quite honestly, as somebody asked me, and you know, and I knew you guys were coming tonight, but I told Jennifer, I said, you might call them, because we're not ready to make that decision.
I just wanted to bring
But I do know this came out because I got an email on it, and I'm kind of perturbed that they kind of put everybody behind an 8 ball, saying, hey, you got a deadline here, the 28th, and.
By the way, this matching grant can also be used for ARPA money that you use.
I
So,
didn't read
yeah,
that.
so I brought this to you, just so you can see it. If you use ARPA money, that goes to those core strategies.
Any type grant from anything.
Well, it says it, so even like general funds, it'll say that too. Anything that the municipality is willing to do to hit the Schedule E, core strategies.
Right.
So say Nick came with a ARPA request for whatever amount, or opioid settlement, whatever it was, you could actually apply that the same way.
All right, so anyway, the answer to your question is, we're gonna have a meeting next week, and we'll try to get an answer, to get to the council, to get an answer, and.
Can I ask when that meeting would be?
What's good for you?
I don't know. I ain't got my schedule.
Debbie and I will not be available Tuesday or Wednesday evenings.
I have a meeting Wednesday at 4.
Thursday good?
I think so.
Thursday?
No, yeah, Thursday.
Thursday at 5.
Is this match saying that the state of Indiana will match amounts dispersed under the American Rescue Plan for services that meet the criteria?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Anything in the Schedule E or the core strategies?
Okay.
If you use that ARPA money for that?
I thought they were just matching.
No, not just regular ARPA money, no. It's gotta go towards the core strategies.
Gotcha, okay.
Yep.
So is that good?
Works for me.
Thursday at 3?
Thursday at 5.
Thursday at 5?
It'll be the ninth.
Yes,
So, Chrissy, I'm sorry, Keith. So,
And let me state that I'm newly elected, I just started in January,
So
I
did
may not be able to answer something.
we're on the same page.
Where's your facilities?
My home office is actually in Jeffersonville, but I'm stationed at our Scottsburg office, and then we have an office in Austin and Scott County as well.
Okay, where's the facilities in Austin? Where's
In
your office?
Austin, on Frontier Road, facing the highway.
Okay.
It's connected to the health department.
Okay.
Okay, so in Scottsburg Community Way, or
In Scottsburg, we're at 75 North First Street.
Are you being charged for that office?
Me personally?
No.
Life Springs?
Cease, it's
No, it's not Cease, that's Life Springs.
No, I'm Life Spring.
Oh, that's right.
That's-
Yeah, she's the
Okay,
chair
that's
for
my
Cease.
confusion here.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah,
wasn't sure.
Cease,
who-
no, we don't have an official office.
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
Cease does not have an official
Mm-mm.
building. So they run that out of their home?
No, they run that out of, once a month, there's a Cease meeting, the first Thursday of the month at noon, right there at the LCC building, Lifelong Learning
We're
Center.
no longer at the LLC. We
Oh, now the
moved
hospital now.
to
Hospital,
Scott
yeah.
Memorial
Yeah,
Conference
back at the
Room.
hospital.
All right, well, Thursday at 5.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for the info.
Yep.
I'm sorry that I misunderstood.
No, I'm sorry. It's my
My
fault.
first job as the community outreach that just came out.
No worries, I'm sorry, I'm catching up as well, so.
Thank you.
Hey, when you're done talking back there, you can move on up here. Just trying to.
It's good to see you, Jeff.
Welcome back.
Get rid of this for you.
What you got?
First, I was gonna see if you had a three-quarter or quarter of a leg laying around somewhere.
Yeah, I saw your comment on Facebook. I was like, okay.
Well, you gotta have a sense of humor, but I would like to recognize,
You can get your shoes cheaper now, can't you?
you still have to buy two. I went to
That's
Zappos and
discrimination.
asked them.
Isn't that discrimination? You have to buy two?
Yeah, I had a doctor's appointment, we went to the mall and went into Zappos and they was looking at me funny and do I have to buy both or just one?
Have you seen the kids at school? They buy two pairs of shoes and they wear one color or the other one, the other color or the other one. I'm like,
But I would like to
go ahead, I'm sorry.
show appreciation to Nick and his staff for that night. I don't remember much about it. I remember hearing Nick's voice and that's about it, and Lucas. I couldn't tell you who else was there, but, appreciate them. They did a great job.
Yeah, they do that, you know.
We've got a good EMS crew.
We do. We have a very good EMS. Got a good EMA crew too.
I try. Tonight, I just wanted to bring up, I'd like to go to council. Last year, we signed for the multi-hazard mitigation plan. And with everything, I didn't go to council. It's a federal grant. I'd like to go, with your permission, to council and request a line item addition in my EMA budget for $18,475.
18,401.
75. And that will be, it's all reimbursed federal grant. We'll get all that money back.
Explain what MHMP is.
It's the multi-hazard mitigation plan. What they are doing is they're looking at what happens if there's a flood, a tornado, severe winter storms, and what we have to deal with it, and plans and all that stuff.
Sound like through Homeland Security kind of thing, or?
It has to be, according to FEMA, it has to be done every 5 years. The plan has to be redone. And we're just one of them that's up for it, so.
It's a good deal.
It's a federal grant that's reimbursed 100%. You have the grant, you know, our form that you fill out for the grants and stuff.
But I'll get it.
Get it from her and we'll have to approve it through that and then.
Yeah, I'll get it before the council meeting, because I know it has to be advertised too, so probably won't get approved by them till, March.
It doesn't have a time restraint on it.
No,
Okay.
but
I just
I
wanna
think-
make sure we do these grants correctly, cause
Yeah,
we got in trouble before.
we got time, I think we had to have it done by June of this year, so we got
Okay.
plenty of time.
Just,
We've already started the process of working on the plan and all that stuff, so.
okay,
Uh,
what else you got?
Secondly, I hired a deputy director for EMA, Joe Smith with Austin Fire.
Joe Smith?
Yeah. He hasn't started yet. He took his drug screen for employment Monday, so,
It's a part-time position, isn't
yeah,
it?
it's part-time,
No benefits, just,
no benefits, 14 hours. That's paid out of the, EMPG grant that, from the state, so hopefully he'll be, starting and be able to help. Be nice to have somebody local.
well, we find out when people get sick and stuff that we don't really have the proper backups and sometimes, and doesn't always go with EMA, it goes with, some other people.
Which that brings up Marty.
But we'll get him situated, get him all the training that's required by the state for that position, so I think he's got most of it already.
So, sounds good.
The last thing that I got is I sat in a meeting with the state, Monday, I think it was. And for those of you that don't know, 2024, there's gonna be a total solar eclipse. And we're right in the path.
What was that date?
April the 8th, which fall, I think it's a Monday.
So how many people's gonna be playing that song Total Eclipse?
Yeah. But what they're saying is the state's already started their planning for it. The main spot is gonna be, areas like Bloomington going across. They're gonna be in the main path of it. Scott County is still gonna get the total eclipse. Might not last as long as Bloomington and some of the other places, but like Bloomington, they're saying that their population for this event could triple. And other areas like us, it could double. We're gonna look at traffic, a lot more traffic, a lot more people, strains on the hotel rooms, restaurants.
How long is this supposed to last?
It's just a couple of minutes really. But Indiana's within a day's drive of 70% of the United States, so, and this will be the last one in North America till 2044.
We can, anyway, we can sell tickets for this.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can sell tickets for this.
Well, that's why I came to you guys. I would like to start planning, because you are gonna have traffic that's gonna occur on a weekday. School's still gonna be in session. It's supposed to occur right at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So you got the bus routes gonna be out and about. So I wanna get
You
with.
said April 8th?
Mhm.
It's a Saturday.
Is it?
2024.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
2024.
Sorry.
I think it's Monday.
Let me go yep, Monday.
I got a call from the assistant manager at Hardy Lake, or an email today from him, asking me to sit on their plan. And I told him that I was approaching you guys tonight, see if we can't, between county government, Austin and Scottsburg government, police, fire, and EMS, come up with a good plan, because might have a lot more people.
So everybody's just gonna crash in the intersection and stuff like
I hope not.
2000?
Yeah, but it's a total solar eclipse. The last one that we saw was 2017, it was just a partial.
So we gotta get the special classes.
I don't know. Don't know, but they say the parks and like on the state call, for the planning of this, they said that most of your state parks campsites are already sold for this event.
Wow.
So, just to be on the safe side, we should have a plan.
Yeah. I was just curious, was the sheriff on the call or
No,
anybody else?
it was mostly EMA and, state agencies.
So I guess the message to the general public is if they don't buy a ticket, they should close their eyes, not look.
Yeah, but, I mean, I would like to get Mike and the tourism people involved, maybe come up with something to bring,
Advertise a little
Yep.
bit.
advertise it, bring people here.
Have hot dogs and popcorn.
Get with the visitors commission.
That's
Yeah.
what,
Visitors Commission.
Yeah.
Maybe bring some more people into our area, cause the county south of us, Floyd, Clark, and Jefferson, they're not gonna be touched by it. So we got the good chance of all of them people coming into Scott County to view it, so. If you guys are okay with it, I'll start reaching out and see if we can't get some people together to start planning and.
Start coordination.
Seems like we're getting a little boost from God to help us out.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for us to show off Scott County and maybe bring a little money back into it.
sounds good.
Yeah.
So, that's all I've got.
Well, I'm gonna welcome you back again. I know, you and I have had multiple phone calls and text messages and stuff, but I'm just glad to see you upright, doing well. Thought I was gonna see you the other day in your driveway, but I didn't.
I saw you. You just didn't see me.
I looked for you, but
Yep.
but I'm, glad to see you, recovered, and I'm gonna tell you as you being a EMT, and you need to make sure you're taking care of yourself, so.
Yep. I'm doing it now.
Glad to have you back.
It cost me a leg, but
Well,
the hospital cost me an arm and a leg, but I negotiated it.
well, I'm glad you're joking about it, but I know how close you were to not being here, so just glad you're, turned the corner and you're with us, so.
If you lose anything else, I'm gonna tell everybody you're trying to escape.
Hey, I've got, I can count to 14 now. That's all
Alright,
I need.
yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
If you need anything from us, let us know.
Good to see you, Joe.
See you, man.
Alright. Nick,
I appreciate it. I'm probably owed it once or twice.
I wondered, purchase, I knew you were coming.
Nope. Well, yes and no. That should be a very short discussion. He doesn't, I think the only thing he'll need is this, maybe.
What you got? Huh? What you got?
Financials, first, finished the month at 164 with all the departments. 157,000 of that was normal run revenue. 2,500 of paramedic program revenue, and another just over $5,000 of training department revenue for the first month. So, exponentially higher than last year.
So I'm sitting there trying to think.
I think we finished last January in the 80s or 90s. So, but that was, I think, I know part of that was due to that transition period that I couldn't get a lot of stuff and it was just hectic, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Run volume for the month was 370. So that's where we're at for that. First thing, so I know you guys voted on the ambulance purchase and I have to go to the council on the 14th.
Frank Handy.
I was here to make a request. If you say no, I'll move on. I went back and rewatched the video, and I don't want to tie myself down per se, So I was wondering if we would be able to rephrase that motion of a purchase of an ambulance up to that $318,088
And not
instead of a specific unit. If you trust me enough in making a decision of a unit. I don't want to,
But I thought, how much did we say last time? I thought it was
you
three.
said that amount, but it was for a specific unit.
we even.
I just want it
said the
I got
model
you.
number.
opened
I
up
got
to
you.
a dollar amount if you trust me enough that I can.
I mean, we're not gonna, we don't know what that one looks like anyway, so.
Right, so that's all I'm
I'm
asking
saying-
is if you can maybe rephrase your motion to say just up to that specific dollar
I guess
amount,
you didn't
nothing
realize.
more. And that way,
Can we say white?
the caveat would be a white ambulance, yes, that's fine. I'll give you that. I didn't know if that was a
I
possibility.
just don't want blue or red, or I've never bought a blue vehicle, so.
So I'm gonna go a different direction. If you get blue or red for $100,000 less,
Well,
We'll go purple.
yeah.
that's an upcharge for red.
It is, it's the most expensive paint color they
Yep,
make.
it is, red is.
So I didn't know if that was a possibility.
Zach? Can we
You could
amend?
amend the prior motion to approve an amount not to exceed a threshold for the purchase of an ambulance, so long as it means the department heads.
Well, see, the last time I said a 2000.
2022.
I gave the name, the Horton model number and everything else, so.
I mean, again, traditionally, this is a purchase of equipment, so I know that it's for buying it. I don't know that these individuals like bid on these things, like supply us with a closed bid for an ambulance number. But I think just for your all's purposes right now, I would, if you want to go up to a specific amount, I would just do it like that. And if you have a different ambulance in mind, I would.
My thought process is if, let's just say they kick that one back, but they'd go for a type 3 that was 280,000, that's a $40,000 difference. I didn't wanna have to start this process over again where they could vote on it, and then I could come back to you the next day
How
and
many
say,
different places can you buy an ambulance from? Let's start there.
around here, about easily 5. However,
They just have set amounts that are available, you either pay that amount or you don't.
yeah, there's no negotiating on the price. It's either you pay it or you don't.
Gotcha.
Like if you're a supplier and Greg is a supplier and you have the same unit number or the same unit, same spec, the price is the same.
Just like fire trucks.
Yeah.
So if you purchase an ambulance in Ohio, you're gonna have to go to Ohio and get it.
I make it where if they're within like 2 or 3 hours, I don't make them give it to me, but like the last one that I purchased over there was in New Jersey, they brought that to me. Well, it wasn't purchased, they built it in New Jersey and it was being built, and I'm not driving to New Jersey to get a truck. I hate driving. So that's part of the requirement for me to buy to them is they bring it to me.
Well, if you let me run the lights, I'll go with you.
Okay. I just didn't know if you can't, that's fine. I just didn't want to tie this down and drag this out any more than it already has been.
I'll make
I
a
don't see
motion.
any practical problem. with
Not
that.
to exceed.
Yeah. but
If you can just say not to exceed that 119,000 to give me
And
that room
white.
or whatever you want, and white, that's fine.
I'll make a motion to approve $318,000
I would
and not
vote
to
it.
exceed $318,000.
I'd say amend our last motion, because
Okay.
we already have a
Oh,
motion.
you're right, you're right.
Can you say 319 just because there's some change on the end of that 318?
Okay. First, I'll make a motion to amend the vote for $318,000, which is what we done for a particular ambulance.
Okay. Randy amends our last motion on the ambulance in our last meeting to amend to not, an amount not to exceed, what, 318,000
For the specific ambulance.
for a specific ambulance, so, Greg? I say. Craig seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous as long as it's white.
Alright, so now I'll make a motion to approve up to, not to exceed, $318,000 for an $319,000, sorry, for an ambulance.
All right, Greg.
I'll say that again.
So we voted to amend
Yeah,
the last, vote we had on purchases,
for the purchase of
purchasing
an
an ambulance.
ambulance, not
Now
to
he's-
exceed.
$319,000.
Now he's going to make an amendment, or he's going to make a motion to approve it, so. So he made it, Rainey made a motion to purchase an ambulance for, not to exceed $319,000. Greg?
And I said,
Greg seconds it, I'll make that unanimous again.
Thank you.
As long as it's white.
Thank you.
So while we're on that, Nick, did you, and maybe you're gonna get to that, I don't know, but, I didn't know if you'd been able to do like any homework on some of the settlement funds.
I've been dealing with Zach and, a couple of things, so it's yes and no. It doesn't directly,
I think based on my review to kind of look, I don't think that the purchase of the ambulance itself meets the criteria. But, if you remember, we had the meeting with Baker Tilly, they come down here and we were talking about, things you can do, things you can't do, ways to, kind of think about it, creatively. I believe that there are certain expenditures within the department itself that qualify under the abatement, the abatement structure that the Attorney General put out. We calculated out that those like get up to like 196,000. So I think what we have is a potential request to fund those areas using abatement funds at 196,000. Take the funds that were appropriated for that purpose, move them into a different line item that would be for a purchasing line item, because those funds would be really just budgeted. It wouldn't be opioid settlement or ARPA, they're just funds that are in the budget. Use those to help with the purchase of the ambulance. It doesn't get us all the way there, it leaves us
125,000 short.
So, for the remainder, and this may get to a different question, is, would you all want to consider using ARPA for that? Or would you want to do a different funding source?
Would that fall under the redevelopment?
I think redevelopment has in the past assisted with this type of situation. But I couldn't speak.
The problem with, if you don't mind, the problem with redevelopment is the time frame of the thing that we signed about holding that. That's the problem with redevelopment. And the conversations that I had with a couple individuals was, we had talked about the upfit of that truck at the end of the year. That's where I would like to approach redevelopment, because if you're actually redeveloping like something and it's of lesser than what I would ask them for now. So it's not as big of an ask, and to me it makes more sense. But I did get some loan figures as well from Russ at West Banco. He provided those on an interest rate of 4.52% up to the 350. He just did a round figure of 350,000 on a 3, 4, or 5 year term. So that's an opportunity as well.
What kind of payment we have there?
On the 300, on the full amount, it was like 52 a year. But obviously, if that went through, it wouldn't be for the full amount. So it would be, it depends on if you want to shorten that term, since you're financing significantly less at the 125, and maybe go 4 years or 3 years to pay it off quicker, but the payment would be more. If not, you're looking in the 20s a year for that 120.
That might be awesome.
So-
Is this something that you could pay?
I'd like to say yes, and,
I wouldn't put you on. the
with,
spot
with,
because
with all due respect, it depends how much I keep getting stripped of lit money. I don't wanna sit here and say I can, and then, I mean, I got $750,000 taken out of my budget in a year, so I'm not gonna sit here and say, yes, I can.
Yeah, if
The
you had,
potential's there, but it just depends on how much I keep
So
getting stripped.
could we agree to that and then we would be on the, if not, we'd be on the hook for it.
well, the thing about it is that,
It can be appropriated on a lit or something.
yeah, if he's coming back with a, you know, if the initial down payment and if we're funding $120,000 for 3 years or something, I mean, at 20-some thousand dollars, I mean, I think we can probably fund that someplace, I mean.
How much, lit was you cut?
$750,000.
And to explain that is that
So. Okay.
Last year,
no, I
last year,
got
my
it.
budget was 1.2 out of 1151, 850 out of 1170. This year, I'm 1.9 out of 1151 and 100 and something out of 1170. Yeah,
how they used to be able to do it in the past was they had a
Yeah.
cash flow that they had in the bank.
I hear about it all the time.
every day.
No,
I just
I got
text
a
her.
question.
But I mean, they had a cash flow that when they had a remount or all this other stuff, they had the money there. Well, over the years, because things happen, that cash flow's gone. And what he's saying is that
I didn't have time to rebuild that cash flow,
You
was
didn't
my
have-
concern. The whole, kind of the, talked about was like every year 150 or so get taken out of lit. So my thought was this year I'd be at like 650, and then the next year I'd be at 5. To give me time to build my cash ledger up, that changed. And we're adapting and overcoming.
So what happened to the money that he was getting? Where'd the lit money go that he was getting?
It got allocated to other,
he can only go to certain funds.
yeah, but I think, I don't know, I'd have to look at my thing.
So the question, where we're going with this is, cause he says that there's a possibility that he could make payments for the ambulance.
Mhm.
But he doesn't wanna lie to us.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
I mean, so he can't go on the hook and say, yes, I can.
Right,
So if the case,
I think we were advised to take a lot from the sheriff's office, from general, so that we could shore up some general funds and move some sheriff's office over to lit that was in general to shore up the general fund. Is what I believe happened. I don't have figures for you though, but I believe that's where a lot of his money got allocated to.
well, so if he was making payments on this ambulance and then, things got too tight and could not, could money be pulled from lit to make payments on the ambulance?
I don't think there's any,
Well,
there's no money in lit right now that's not allocated.
Well, I know the LIT tax can only, I believe, go for,
Police, fire, 911.
yeah, emergency
And EMS.
services.
okay.
So it can't be, but you can play a shell game and take portion out here and move that back over here.
And that's what we were going to them to this. I've got
And
options
I'm
for
not
them
saying,
to.
I'm not saying something was done illegally, I'm just saying,
The option is there on the
It's
table. The reason I got loan quotes and all of this was for the council to decide to say, if the opioid works and we can do 50 from a loan and 50 from ARPA and 50, I mean, you have the ability to fund on different avenues. And that's, I've got everything, I've talked to Zach, we've got to this, the opportunities are there. It's just whatever decision the council chooses to
the
make.
avenue how to do it.
Right.
So what if we do this? Why don't we agree to let him purchase it? And we don't have to have a plan for the, ARPA money till 2024. So if he can make the payments till 2024, let him pay it down, and then we can use ARPA money to finish paying it off.
That would work unless I can't make a payment in the
Then
middle
we'll
of
have
the
to
year.
use ARPA money to pay it off for you.
Well,
I'm just telling you right now, this budget this year is,
Tight.
it's tighter than a drum head.
you're talking about $50,000 a year payment.
If you finance the whole,
20.
correct, if you finance the whole thing, you're looking at $50,000 to $60,000 a year at the full 320, whatever. If they vote to use any type of money, call 911. Our bills are low. Let's use round figures. Let's say the council approves the 200, that leaves 120,000 left. You finance that for 5 years, doing math without interest, you're looking at what, 25,000, 23.5 a year plus interest and rates at another $2,000, so let's just round it to 25,000, right? That means you're making a $25,000 payment for 5 years instead of that 55,000 on the full loan term. Or they could say, hey, you know, there's 200,000 out of abatement, there's 75,000 out of the unallocated, there's 50 out of ARP that's fully paid. Like, there's opportunities, it doesn't have to be one fund, it's however the council, if they move
Right.
to fund it out of 20 different.
My goal.
Let me just throw something out here. Got $111,000 in unrestricted.
That's what we were looking at too.
Yeah.
So what are we short?
120.
20?
Mhm.
So we are $9,000 short.
If you use both funds, yes. But on the flip side of it, one thing that I thought is, you know, you can.
Well, we're not using that, we're not using ARPA restricted for the purchase. I want to be very.
Opioid restricted, correct, no, not for the purchase of the ambulance, but it frees up line items in my budget to use money that is already allocated to me to use towards that.
Well, you mentioned to me that you would like to be able to get to the point where you could purchase your own.
I'd love to, but.
And I wanna let's get that, I'd like to get that started, so.
I would too, but with what happened this year, that's not possible.
It has to
You
happen.
can't cut $750,000 from me and expect me to make
It
money.
has to happen
So
in the next budget
if we
cycle.
paid $100,000 on it, could you then make the payments maybe on the rest?
The extra 20,000, not in a year. I don't, with all due respect, I'm going to be short this year already. I've made that clear. We went from 850,000 to 150,000 in 1 year of support. I went from a budget that I was responsible for 1.2 million to 1.9 million in a year. I will cover it with what's in my cash ledger, but and this is the problem with my budget where like I said.
Cash and put it somewhere else.
Correct, like, what I'm saying is, I'm not front-loaded like every other department in this county.
Right, I know.
So I've got that cash ledger right now that's got 500 and something thousand in it. My 1.6 that I made last year, let's just say I make that again this year, I'm responsible for 1.9. That $300,000 deficit's coming out of my cash ledger. So next year, I'm only gonna be at 200,000 instead of 500,000. If you don't let me build that cash ledger up, I'll never be able to be self-sufficient again, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
So that hit that I took this year killed everything of being able to get self-sufficient quickly.
And that's how they always.
And I'm not blaming, please don't take this, I'm not blaming the council, they had to do what they had to do. But they've got 20 departments to worry about, I've got one. But I'm just telling you, with my department, the whole plan of being able to build that cash ledger up back to $1 million to have that revolving in and out, not gonna happen this year.
I mean, we're getting pretty deep in, I don't know, do you have a copy of the comprehensive financial report? So one of the things that council had to do is figure out
where to come up with. Yeah.
Well, not just how to fund the ongoing departments. Basically, I think it's the DLGF is basically saying that we don't have enough funds percentage-wise based on our assets, our fixed asset value to, we're not holding enough in reserve.
Right,
We're holding like 5% or something,
Not even.
and we should be at 25%.
Which is why I'm trying to get them to be able to get to this point where they can,
But in order to make them capable of, in order to make the county as a whole capable, council had to basically go like this on every single department. Unfortunately, I'm probably guessing here, but EMS was one of the, and I'm not saying it's overfunded, don't take that the wrong way. I'm just saying that it is a department that receives a large
I'm the biggest budget in the county.
percentage
It looks more attractive.
countywide. You can cut that in different places where you can't, I mean, you can't cut the probation department $200,000. Money doesn't exist, I mean, there's not. So, you know, there are places where you can and places where you cannot make cuts. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
I think that's a very long-term problem.
Yeah, I mean,
Figuring out how to pay for this ambulance is a short-term problem.
there's a difference between getting us on a rotation and getting me to cycle my own ambulances. That's two different conversations. And it feels like I was expected to fix $1 million problem in a year. And that's not, I made that clear to everybody, that's not possible. When I did my interview, I told you guys, this was gonna take years.
You know, I'm gonna say that there's a method to that, and I'm not saying that you should ignore that, but again, council has had to do things.
Yeah, I'm not blaming council,
Yeah.
they had to do what they had to do, it's just the plan that we initially had is not in progress right now.
gonna take a while to get there.
Yep, to expect us to be self-sufficient at the end of the year, I'm telling you right now, on February 1st, it's not gonna happen. Not with the hit that I took at the beginning of this year, it's
Come back
not.
and tell us that tomorrow.
Okay.
It's Groundhog Day.
Okay.
But we should have like,
I'm gonna support my budget, but my cash ledger is incrementally going down,
You
to the
can't-
point where at some point, I'm gonna be a negative cash ledger.
Yeah, you
well,
can't
like,
pay for your stuff.
and that's kind of, if you look at the financial report, that's every single.
Yes.
The projected, I mean, you don't have to understand the math, you don't have to understand how the accounts work. What you have to be able to do is look at the graphs. And they all go like this.
Yeah.
And that was the whole point, is for me to get out of this trend, I had to incrementally be subsidized by lit, which we're capable, or we are privy to, but it would incrementally go down. Well, it didn't incrementally go down.
Oh, the other problem with that is that medical supplies went up.
Yeah, and then we,
Increased costs.
you had anything that has
That's back
fire or
in.
EMS
Okay.
associated with it is 4 times more than what it would cost a pair of EMS scissors is $90 for like a pair of Raptors. And you can go to Walmart and get a pair of kitchen shears for 12. I'm just,
well, I mean, to me, it's not an issue on whether or not we get the ambulance. I'm just trying to figure out
we have,
different avenues. to
and I
purchase it.
completely respect
We're
that.
either gonna be in the we're either gonna be in the EMS business, or we're not gonna be in the EMS business. And if we're gonna be in the EMS business, then we have to have ambulances.
You're all in or you're not, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. And so, what do you want to just take it out of it? Or,
It's,
Yeah, but, well, however.
I think we send it to council and let them figure it out. They're the financial people. I mean, if they feel like that they take it out of ARP, then we take it out of ARP. If they feel like they move this money over from this, one of his line items to another line item and use ARP to fund that line item, then do that. If they think that we're gonna do a portion of that and go to the bank and finance the rest of it, then that's what they do there. But, I mean, I don't know.
picked
I don't
Lindy's
know if
brain a
that's-
lot on what she thinks will work and, what doesn't work, and
Just tell her write you a check.
you write me a check? No?
I'm not.
I will say, like,
The opportunity is there for several avenues.
I would say borrowing is generally is a like a no-no.
Well, we do that on police cars, though.
Yeah, but generally, we definitely can't borrow over certain thresholds. So just understand that any borrowing that you do in one area could affect the ability to borrow in a different area.
I'm just trying to lay out every option to give them resources here.
Well, I think it's, at this point, I think it's gonna be in their hands to figure out and come back to us and say, here's how we're gonna do it. I mean, so, cause they know that avenue more than we do.
I mean, I get the borrowing conversation, but the thing is,
No,
if we could make payments, here's my thought process on that, was if we can make payments for a year, then maybe we could regain the money from the lit to go ahead and pay that off, because the lit can only be used for certain items, and the art money can be used to help us somewhere else in this county. Because let's face it, this county needs a lot of help other places.
yeah.
And I'm not saying that I am definitely not, actually this is what I'm gonna say. I am definitely not an expert on the borrowing laws in the state of Indiana as it relates to local subdivisions. But in the microcosm of Scott County, I understand what you're saying. I would say that the issue is that legally, you have certain thresholds that you can't exceed and certain things that you're not allowed to do. Because in the past, the state government was so far into debt, and we're talking 60, 70 years ago, that, again, we participated in basically an economic collapse because of the amount of debt, and the state started setting limits on borrowing and private-public investment.
So we just throw it on top of federal then, because we all know where that's going.
I'm just saying, like, constitutionally, we had, the state of Indiana amended its constitution to set, basically limits on those things, and then subsequently enacted statutes about it. I assume that the DLGF, who already has issues with the lack of funding sources that we have, like when you look at revenue versus projected costs, they're already projecting us in a bad situation. I would expect that their solution to that problem would not be borrow money. And they would frown upon that. So I'm just throwing that out there. Now, what I will say is, if you are asking council to make a decision about which fund you're gonna use, I think I have worked with Nick to come up with a plan for about $196,000 of it.
Plus the potential 111.
Well, so then there is this 111 there. We had talked in the past at previous meetings, and the board's indicated that you wanted to hold on to that unrestricted fund as long as possible to see what might come up. But if you are inclined to approve use of that as well, I mean, I think council would at least need to know that you would be okay with potentially using that restricted fund if it falls to that. Does that make sense?
It does, it's just, yeah.
Then you're really.
We're not talking about all the information that really needs to be talked about here, what's going on, but
Then
yeah.
you're looking at about $9,000 difference between.
I'll float that.
Which, so, I mean, I don't know if, I guess there is no money in it, so.
Oh, I thought there was a couple hundred left, no? Cause I thought there was a couple hundred left in case at the end of the year I needed it from the hit that I took.
I have a question back
So
here.
you don't know how much money's left in the lit money? Unless I have it in my front of me, I don't know, it's a lot of numbers. So can we check and see what that money was allocated to, that was transferred over?
Yeah.
Lit's
It
fluid.
should be emergency, right, something to do with emergency? Yeah.
Lit's liquid though, it constantly changes.
It should be in the budget.
Will we have those numbers maybe the next meeting or something? On where it went to and what's left, maybe?
What we did is we moved a lot of the sheriff's office over from general fund to lit, so that we could shore up general fund, so that we could have an operating balance, because we didn't have an operating balance.
And I knew that
So
going in.
you moved lit to the sheriff to general money that's
we
been
moved-
sheriff, move that back to general fund? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we just, that just, I mean, I understand that, but that money really didn't go to emergency if you sent it to the sheriff first.
They qualify.
They qualify.
Yeah, but then they took that money and put it somewhere else. That is kind of like shell game.
No, they took the money that is allocated to the sheriff's office from the general fund and put it back in the general fund.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yep. Like, in the same way I got money moved out of lit into my normal budget, they got their more normal budget moved into lit. Like, it's,
Because our general fund, again,
was 350,000.
our general fund is at an amount that is not sustainable. And if you look at projected costs in the next 5 years, it would be gone.
And again, I'm not blaming council. I knew that going in. We had a conversation. I knew I was getting cut way more than I expected. I knew that. I'm not blaming anybody. We'll make that clear. I knew that going in, or not going in, but coming out, I knew where we were at. I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying the plan to build that cash ledger to a self-sustainable amount cannot happen this year due to that.
And I want you to have your ambulance, I just wanna be careful how we purchase.
Like I said before,
Because-
if we don't have to get the ambulance now, but at some point, you're replacing the ambulances at some point. It's
Agreed.
just one at a time or three at a time.
Agreed,
And
you
so,
need to get an ambulance, it's just, in my mind, what's going through my mind is, I know that we have a certain amount of bridges in Scott County that's gonna have to have a lot of work done, and I'm not sure where that money's gonna come from. So,
and the crazy part is, I will say, for EMS, out of all the grant opportunities and stuff that are out there, for EMS, it's few and far between.
yeah,
Especially in localized areas like that, it's just.
which on our bridges, we can qualify for grants, but you gotta have the money.
They're
to-
matching
to
grants
match the
or,
grants.
I get that.
And some of these, the approaches and everything else that goes into building a bridge is just,
And I
it's a
mean,
lot of money.
the other side of this is that, I don't know what the time frame is on the necessity, but Randy, you made a motion at the previous meeting about reaching out to the cities, right?
Yeah.
I would say a request to them for $20,000 to $9,000 is a lot different than like a $350,000 ambulance.
Right.
So, yes, they are receiving service, you know, there's some argument as to contribution. And, you know, I think if we know where that other funding is gonna be, again, that's another
You can come
resource
up with
to
that other
tap.
part of the equation, yeah, that's a good, yeah.
It's just one of those things that you'd have to front from somewhere else and subsidize
See
later.
what, if anything,
Sticks.
the municipalities would be willing to contribute.
So there you go. Yes, on the ambulance, go to the council, they'll let us know where we gotta go.
That's all I needed. Well, for that topic. You requested some information that's in the back of the packet.
Actually, I don't need it now, but I appreciate it.
All that work for nothing.
And the reason being is that,
Well, there you go, out of curiosity.
but I am gonna meet with him tomorrow, so.
Out of the roughly 5,000 runs that we did, now you have to understand that 5,000 runs, our AMAs and stuff are in there. But out of those runs, only 40% went to Scott, so we do go out of the county quite a bit.
So reading, I see.
And that 22% up top that you see that doesn't have an identifier, that's to stuff those are to locations, home residences, facilities that aren't quick picks in our charting software, where we would have to manually type an address in.
So is this a
that's-
year?
That's for a year, yes, sir. That was for last year.
Okay. I'm gonna use that tomorrow anyway, but.
Okay.
What else you got?
If you so move, I was asking to travel out of state on Monday. Myself, her, and one other person to travel out of state in one vehicle to Columbus, to Horton, to check that truck out in person.
There is actually a form that,
I gotta fill out, I just didn't know if I could.
so I'm fine with that. I'll entertain a motion or to allow you to out-of-state travel, so.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes a motion to allow EMS to travel in one vehicle out of the county and out of the state to Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, to inspect a ambulance.
I'll say it.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, and make sure you fill out the form.
Yes, sir. Two other things, and I need you, if you don't mind, for a minute. Obviously, when I first came here, still trying to learn the process. You take over from here.
In the spring, summer of last year, I contacted the company that we get our oxygen from. I asked them if we were under contract with them, and they said that we were not under contract. I told them that we were going to start looking elsewhere for quotes because we had seen an increase in what our oxygen was costing. They said that they would have somebody contact me about giving us another quote to see if they could get our prices down, but that we were not under contract. So at that point, I started reaching out to other companies to get quotes from them. We found a company that was significantly cheaper for the exact same thing. When I called to talk to them about, you did reach out, we're gonna be looking at canceling, all of that, they came up with a contract that was signed 2 years ago. That they told us.
So how long is the contract due for?
30 years.
Surprisingly. Who signed the well?
Not you.
It was not you all.
One of my predecessors signed it.
I'm gonna ask, was it, an intern or was it?
Nope.
Okay. It was a director.
Correct. And the problem with this contract is that it says that I have to give them a minimum of 12 months written notice to end that contract at the end of that third year. Well, that's why I didn't even have the contract because it was nowhere to be found. She called in the summer and they said you weren't under contract, so we didn't assume we had to do anything. We went to cancel and go with someone else.
It's a 3-year contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it expires
In 2023,
October 16th of 2023.
but I would have had to tell them in October of 2022 that at the end of 23, I didn't want to use them anymore.
Yeah, we'll give them 12
For an
months
oxygen
notice.
company?
Yeah.
And not only does it say that, it says I have to buy any and all gas from them regardless of price.
And it also says in there that they would give us a 15-day notice if they were going to increase our prices via email, or they would send us a letter, and we have not received either one of those, and they have increased our prices.
So we went to go with another company that was non-contractual based, it was just month to month. Made an order with them, was gonna have a delivery on Friday, and out of the blue, this guy from Lexington, Kentucky shows up on a Thursday and tries to strong arm me into continuing business with them, and I canceled my order through them for a week just to do it because I can, but now I gotta go back to ordering oxygen from them because I can't not have it.
So if they, I mean, I'm not an attorney, but if they breached the contract by not telling you that you have a price increase like the contract says, and they didn't give you notice,
That's the
is
reason
that
I
not a
brought it
breach
up.
of contract? I mean,
Can you give me the guy's contact information?
Can I send it to you tomorrow? Okay. Yes, sir.
alright.
But I just wanted, we entered a 3-year contract. We called to see if we were, because like she said, we were told no by their, what do you call it, Louisville?
Yeah, it was Louisville's their manager down there. I can tell you her name too, but.
It renews for successive 1-year terms.
Yeah.
Just to be-
So now I'm until 24, yes.
Well,
But still.
I don't read a lot of contracts, but a year, to give somebody a year to get out of a contract, that's kind of excessive, I think.
I'm all right with subscriptions where it's like a one-time payment and you get something for X amount of time. I'm not big on contracts because then when this stuff happens, you're at the mercy of just take it or leave it, so. But that gentleman down there is smarter than I on that, so.
What does Zach look at it?
Last thing was. This is all.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem.
So, is this a payment or
Yeah.
is this, so there's another payment after
There's
this?
one more after it next year. Or you just,
So, I mean, what's this thing do?
March 21st, I believe,
23rd.
23rd.
Oh, okay.
It's the end, by the way, just remember that.
We're gonna have to discuss this. Probably, to figure out how I know how we did it last time, whether that happens again or another avenue of how we make that payment, or, so is that the official copy? Can you make me a copy of it?
You have that one? I mean, just print it off the internet, like it's emailed. Sir?
Is this our last payment?
No, it's your second of 3.
We got another one. That's why we were talking about taking money and.
It's your
paying it
middle
off,
child.
But, but that's our child support payments. But, so anyway, we'll take that under advisement. I'll keep that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, hey, where are you at on that little, grant for the transport?
They never opened it back up.
Huh?
Oh, one more thing, can I ask you guys to do some research on behalf of us at your leisure?
Or?
HB 1552.
HB.
1552.
What is it?
Oh,
I know what it is, it's House Bill 1552, but what is it?
It's specifically for an EMS lit tax, like specific to EMS that is used to it with
You know
super.
we're all Republicans here, don't you?
Yeah. You want me to be self-sufficient, there you go.
That's not being self-sufficient, that's actually the taxpayer piece.
Huh?
That's not being self-sufficient, that's adding another tax to the taxpayer.
Well, my answer to that is when I start getting treated like every other department, then I can be self-sufficient. You start front loading me money, I can be self-sufficient.
That's a budget.
That's my answer to that one.
That's a budget question.
I love the job you do, you're doing a great job, let's not go down that avenue, I'm not gonna
You
increase
just had to
taxes.
cross over there, didn't you?
I'm
Thank you.
not gonna increase taxes.
All right, next thing up is the board appointments.
Isn't it? Probably when we say private contractor.
And we're to the board appointments here, so I guess we're gonna
Oh,
go.
guys, I think we're about to kick out of time.
All right, we're back. We had to reboot the owl here in our computer, so we're live again, so, so where the next thing up on the agenda here is the board appointments. And I'm gonna say that some of these have already been made. We're gonna go through, here and make sure we're all on the same page of what we're dealing with, so. And I'm going to start with the first one here, and actually, which is, and this is the first time we're really making some major changes here since I've been a commissioner, and actually, probably in a very long time, but let's go one by one here. And so the Alcoholic Beverage Commission, Greg Prince actually was the commissioner's appointment on that back on 1/1 of 2022, and it's a year appointment. So, because Greg is now a commissioner, he cannot serve on that board. So, I'll entertain someone to replace him on that board. So, if someone has a nominee.
I'd like to nominate Don Campbell.
So Greg has nominated Don Campbell to fill a year term of the Alcoholic Beverage Commission. Randy?
I'll second that.
So the appointment for the Alcoholic Beverage Commission was appointed by Greg and seconded by Randy, and I'll make that unanimous. So so on the next one, actually on the next two, because I'm on one of these boards, and it's the advisory plan board, the APC board. It's me, Steve Harold, John Hauser, Gary Green, Doug Andrews, and Mike Everett. I'm gonna make a motion to keep that the same, so.
Where you at?
On the advisory panel at the top. Advisory Plan Commission.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna ask to leave those members as they are, so that's my motion.
I'll second that.
Randy seconds that, and Greg. So Greg makes that unanimous. So the Board of Zoning Appeals, again, Gary Green, Jared Sullivan, and Greg Gibson. Again, a one-year term. And I'm gonna again ask to leave that alone, so. So I'm gonna make a motion to reappoint those three gentlemen.
I'll second that.
I made the motion, Randy seconds that, and Greg?
I'll make that unanimous.
Alright. Moving along, the Scott County Economic Development, which has me as a commissioner on that. I'll continue to serve on that board if you guys are fine with that.
Yes.
Oh, make it unanimous.
Alright, so I made the motion, actually I can't make the motion, Greg made the motion and Randy seconds, and I'll make that unanimous, so.
There you go.
Civil Defense, Emergency Management, Randy Julian serves on that board for a one-year term.
I'd like to stay.
Randy, I'm gonna make a motion to leave Randy on that board. Greg?
I'll second.
Greg seconds it.
I'll make it unanimous.
Randy makes it unanimous, so. The next one we're gonna skip because it's,
I'll give you this.
Okay, alright.
the next one is the Community Corrections Advisory Board, and we're gonna table that because we're still trying to figure out what board positions we have on there. The next one is the Community Foundation Lilly Leadership. Jean Robbins has been, the past, actually, and I'm just looking at this, she was the past, nominee on that board. She was appointed in 1/1 of 2022, and it's a 2-year term, so she stays on that board. So we don't have to do anything with that, it's not up. The County Health Insurance Committee, that's another board that the commissioners place a commissioner on that board, and I'm on that, so, I'd like to stay on there, so. So.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes a motion to leave, me on that board, and Greg seconds that. I'll make that unanimous, so. On the next one, County Safety Officers, it's always been the auditors and the deputy auditor, so I'm gonna make a recommendation that we leave Jennifer and Debbie Ritchie on that, on the County Safety Officers. So I'll entertain, or I guess I'll make that motion.
Would that be, would that change? Yeah, I'm gonna go with this, I'm just questioning. Would that, change when we get HR?
I don't know, because I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't even know what they do. I mean, they've always.
That'd be the same as.
It's not an HR position.
I'm sorry, I missed the board appointment.
County Safety Officers, it's always been the auditors, but I don't know if it's just something.
I actually believe that is not, it's not the same as HR.
Right, but I didn't know if we was gonna give that to HR. I thought we discussed we was gonna give that to safety was gonna be part of the HR's job, I thought. Might be a conversation I had with somebody.
Now, it might be something that, are they something like if there was something they had to show a movie or not a movie?
I actually don't think it has anything to do with like day-to-day operations at all. I can't remember exactly, but I feel like I remember seeing a type of planning that we're required to do under federal grant.
Or courthouse security or something.
And there's some kind of like, the auditor has always been like our like safety coordinator designated for that. I mean, I don't know if that would be your preference to change, but
okay.
I can get an answer to that question.
I've just never,
Are you all right with staying on that board again, Debbie? Then I'd like to make the motion, or did you make it?
no, you go.
I'd like to make the motion to have, Debbie, Richie, and, Jennifer Hamlin to stay on the county safety officers.
All right, Randy made a motion to, have Jennifer Hellman and Debbie Ritchie, the deputy auditor, be the county safety officers. Greg?
I'll second that.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so. Drainage board, the Everett Hunley, Randy Julian, Billy Comer, that's not up until, the end of 2025, or 4. Drainage board, the next, these are opposite years, 3-year terms. We have Joe Robbins and Don Stump, and Don Stump passed away, so we need to, nominate a person to fill Don Stump's, position. And I think, I'll make a motion here, I'm gonna nominate John Donahue.
Yeah.
Which is a farmer out in, Johnson Township, so I nominate, John Donahue
To fill the term,
to complete the term.
to complete the term.
It originated in 2020, and it's a 3-year term, so it'll be up at the end of this year.
Okay.
So,
That's John Collins's
son-in-law.
son-in-law, isn't it? Yeah. I'll second that motion.
I made the motion to appoint John Donahue to complete the year, to replace Don Stump.
I'll make that.
Randy seconds that, and Greg makes that unanimous, so. The next one is EMS Oversight Committee. Gene Robbins is the current person on that board. What's your pleasure?
I'd like to make a motion to leave her.
Randy makes a motion to leave Gene Robbins on the EMS Oversight Committee. Greg?
I'll second that.
Greg seconds it, I'll make that unanimous. Gene's always done us a good job out there. And she also has, I think she's in the hospital a lot out there, so. HIPAA officers, again, these were always, in the past, always have been the auditor and the deputy auditors, so I'm gonna make a motion to leave that as Jennifer Hellman and Debbie Ritchie as the HIPAA officers. What's your pleasure?
I'll second that.
Randy seconds that, Greg? Greg makes that unanimous, so the next one, the library trustee, Mary Beth Comer, is not up. It's a 4-year term, and she was voted in last year, so she's got a few years left. The other trustee, was Flossie McGannon, and looks like her term, the last time she's voted in, it was, 2019, so I think she is up this year, and I'd like to leave her in that same position.
I'll second that.
I made a motion to leave Flossie McGann in the position of the library trustee. Randy seconds that, and Greg?
I'll make that unanimous.
Greg makes it unanimous. The OVO, Ohio Valley Opportunities, it's a 2-year, term. We're in the first year of that term, and, the last person on there was Tammy Johnson, and I'll entertain, actually, I'm gonna make a motion. I'm gonna make a motion to, appoint Anthony Peacock to that position.
So we can take her off there even though it's
She's not, yeah, we can take her off since she's not an elected. Yeah, I think she was an elected official and she's not
yeah,
anymore,
but
so.
you have to be. I'll second that if we can do it.
Yeah, I guess I never looked at it that way, but I'm gonna say, I think we can, so. I made the motion, Randy seconds it, Greg?
I'll make that unanimous.
Made it unanimous, so. Next one is the Personnel Committee, which is also a commissioner's position. John Lisenby was on there before, so Greg, I think you said you would take that position as the Personnel Committee.
Yes.
So Greg accepts the position for the Personnel. Well, I guess I'll make the motion, Randy.
I'll second that.
Randy seconds that, and Greg? Gonna make yourself unanimous. The next one is the Public Defender Board. Christian Evans is on that board. He was brought on in 2021. It's a 3-year term, so it's not actually up, so. The next one is River Hills Economic Development. I'm gonna look at something real quick, cause somebody. We're gonna go on here. Our board appointees, it's a yearly, appointment. Steve Myers is on that board, John Lismy was on that board, and Gene Robbins was on that board. I know, Greg, you said you wanted to be on that board, so, I'm gonna make a motion to retain Steve Myers and appoint Greg to that board. Let's start with that first, and then we'll go to our other appointments, so I made a motion, so it's mine.
I'll second that motion.
I made a motion to relieve Steve Myers on the board and appoint Greg, to that board. So I made the motion, Greg seconded, or Randy seconded, Greg.
I'll make it unanimous.
Greg made it unanimous, so we have one more appointment to that board, and I've been asked, to, appoint, Adam Bourne to that board. So what's your thoughts?
I'll second that motion.
So I made a motion to add Adam Bourne to,
Adam Bomar.
Bomar, yeah, okay. To River Hills Economic Development, Randy seconds that, and Greg?
I'll make it unanimous.
Greg makes it unanimous. So the next one is, this is another one of those boards that I don't know what it does, but Scott County Economic Development, ATA bonds. Jimmy Lee Craig is, it's a year, term. I'm gonna entertain a motion, or I'll make a motion to just leave him there, cause I don't know what it is, so. So, what's your guys' pleasure?
I'm sorry, I was catching up my list. Where are we at, Scott County?
Scott County Economic Development, ATA bonds, it's Jimmy Lee Craig. You got somebody you wanna put in there, or what's your pleasure?
Greg, do you have time for that?
I think that ATA stands.
No, I mean.
Can't hear you, what?
The ATA probably stands for Austin Trihawk, so it's got something to do with that industrial park.
Okay, so like a TIF thing or something?
Very well could be.
What's your pleasure?
I'll second. Jimmy Lee Craig.
Alright, I made a motion just to leave Jimmy Lee Craig there, and Greg seconds it. And, what's your pleasure, Randy?
I really don't know the brother, so yeah, I'll make it unanimous.
So let's leave it the same. Scott County Partnership. It's a 1-year term. Gene Robbins was our last person on there. Has anybody got a person they, wanna nominate, or they wanna leave it like it is?
I'd like to nominate Tim Hall.
I will say this, I did talk to Tim Hall about that, and I don't know if he's wanting to do that or
Wanting to
not,
do that.
so. So, does anybody else got a nominee, or?
I would nominate Dean to retain her on that.
Yeah, just leave Gene on there. She does a
Okay.
good job.
Greg makes a motion to leave Gene Robbins on the Scott County Partnership.
I second it.
Randy seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so we'll leave it right there. Alright, redevelopment. Scott County Redevelopment Commission, we have, Bill Graham, and the other two were Carl Stout and John Lisby, and the other two, Carl Stout resigned, and John is no longer a commissioner, so Greg, you said you had interest in being on that board, so I'll, make the motion to make, Greg, put Greg Prince on the Scott County Redevelopment Board.
I'll second that.
I made the motion, Randy seconds that, Greg,
I'll make that unanimous.
you gonna vote against yourself? All right, so we have one other person for the redevelopment, so has anybody got a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Brad Stotts for that position on the board.
All right, Greg has nominated Brad Stotts to a one-year term to the Scott County Redevelopment Commission. Randy?
I'll second that.
Randy seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous. So, that board will consist of Bill Graham, Greg Prince, and Brad Stout. Southeastern Recycling District, had John Lisenby on that, and Greg has said that he would be happy to fulfill that.
I'll make the motion to put Greg on that.
Randy makes a motion to put Greg on that, Southeastern Recycling District. I second that, and Greg,
I'll make that.
reluctantly, you're gonna say yes. All right, Tourism Board, I think we did this in a special meeting the other day, but I'm gonna go through this again. Todd Ritchie was, he resigned, I think, in August or September of last year, and that board actually came to one of our commissioners' meetings, and, I think he put in, Jim, Jonas, and, so he has replaced Todd Ritchie on that board, and he will be up, that's a 2-year term, and that was in 2022, he'll be up in 2024, and the other person on that board is Don Cooper, and he's not up either. And I'm just recapping, because we've already done this in a special meeting the other night. Jessica Collier, was also appointed, Joe Gibson was also appointed, and Brandy, Renew, was also voted in, so she has they all have a 2-year term, so they'll be up in 2 more years, so. All right, moving on to workforce,
Which we're gonna add more people.
yes, actually, we're talking about adding, some people to that board, and we're gonna find out what the percentage is, cause the more people we put on that board, the city has an opportunity to have a person on that board as well. We don't know what the percentage is gonna be, so we're looking at that, so. Workforce One, I'm on that board, I guess I wanna stay on that board, so.
I'll make a motion to keep Mike on that board.
I'll second.
Randy makes it,
The visitors commission?
yes.
Well, we did those appointments.
We already did, I just recapping so everybody knows what we did. Workforce One, Randy makes a motion to leave me on that board, and, Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so. SEARD, Citizens Advisory Committee, in the past, we had Steve Plass and Mariah Campbell. I'll entertain a motion for anybody that you want to put on this board.
I'm assuming they're doing a good job. I haven't heard any complaints.
Actually, I'm gonna make a motion to, place, Clayton Gross on this board. So, I'm gonna make a motion to put Clayton Gross on this board.
I'll
So.
second that.
I made a motion to put Clayton Gross on the board. Randy seconds that, Greg.
I'll make that unanimous.
And then I'm gonna also make a motion to leave Mariah Campbell on that board. And, so I'm making a motion for Mariah Campbell to stay.
I'll second that.
I made the motion to put Mariah Campbell or leave her on the board, and Randy seconds that, Greg.
I'll make that unanimous.
Greg makes it unanimous. All right, I'm gonna have our attorney talk about this next one with One Southern Indiana RDA. Because we found some more information out that.
Okay, oh, yes. So we operate in a regional development that is established by kind of a uniform, regional development statute. There's one that applies to northwestern Indiana and one that applies to central Indiana. We operate under kind of just a uniform for any other RDAs that exist. I think we are partnered with 5 other counties, for that board. It's a 5-member board. It is a separate entity, and our appointment and all the appointments to the board must have specific, like, professional background that allows them to serve on the board. There is no residency requirement, so I know that that was a question about, like, do you need an individual who's appointed from Scott County to live in Scott County? Second off, I think we are 2 years into a 4-year term at this point for that appointment, if I'm not mistaken.
It was up last year, we renewed it last year.
Okay, so we're maybe a year in, really.
So 3 years left.
So we have 3 years left. In order to remove an individual from the RDA, the county would actually have to petition the RDA itself and the other members, and at least 3/4 of the members. So in this circumstance, at least 3 other counties, executive bodies would have to agree to removal of our appointment prior to the end of the 4-year term. And then even after the 4-year term is over, if it was not simply just I mean, they would have to agree to reappointment as well, but any new person that would be appointed would also have to go through an approval process by the RDA board itself. And the other, because this is a joint, the statute makes it more difficult to unilaterally make decisions about the future of the RDA. So in this circumstance, I would say you don't have the unilateral authority as a board to remove anyone, and you're in the middle of a 4-year term, and even to consider removing somebody, you would have to go through a number of steps that would have to be approved outside of your all's control, and there is that would be a longer process.
Well, I mean, I didn't notice that the term wasn't up, and then I remembered after I saw that we just renewed that. So it wouldn't be that the term was up and we were voting on a new person, and I do remember when we did this, cause, it came in front of the commissioners had to vote to send our nominee to their executive council or their executive board. And then, I mean, it wasn't a sure thing that our nominee was gonna be selected.
That's correct.
And, so, what's your comments, or what are you thinking?
I'm saying, I really have state's done a good job. It don't sound like we have a way to get him up there, really. I mean, legally, so.
What do you think, Greg?
I mean, yeah, listen to what Zach says, and,
I'll make a motion, leave Steve Myers.
I think, I will say this before we vote. I will say that if we want to do this in the future, we need to be in front of it before the end of the year.
Yeah.
And plan for it, if that's what if as a board, that's what we're gonna do, because this.
So the specific code sections, IC 36-7.62, or 7.6-37.6-2-7, development board membership. It's composed of 5 members appointed by written agreement of the executives of the members of the development authority. So everybody has to agree on the membership. Members appointed to the board, the only requirement is that they not be an elected official or an employee of the county, and they must have at least 5 years of professional work experience in at least one of the following: transportation, regional economic development, business or finance, private nonprofit sector, or academia. Which I would say pretty broad. But when you go to the removal part is where it gets more stringent in terms of before a 4-year term, how that whole process would work, and that one is, IC 36-7.6-2-9. So a member of a development board may only be removed from the development board before the expiration of the 4-year term by written agreement of at least 3/4 of the executives of the members of the development authority. So I would say in this circumstance, you're fairly limited in what you would.
Well, I mean, I learned a lot about that because this isn't not a normal county board, it's a regional board, and it has a lot to do with the state and some things, you know, that more or less are out of our control, so what's your pleasure, guys?
Steve Myers.
So Randy entertains a motion, or Randy makes a motion to leave Steve Myers in the position. Greg?
I'll second that.
Greg seconds that, and I'm gonna make it unanimous, and I will say Steve has done us a great job there. I mean, I've never had any ill thoughts or whatever. I mean, I've argued with him about this last round of money, but it actually wasn't their doings, it was at the state level that stepped in and made some changes, so.
Well, Steve and his family's always been good to Scott County and always supported Scott County.
I get that, and actually the reason it even came up is it was over the residency thing, whether he moved to Hanover Beach where they've had a family plot since I was in the junior high, so, his wife said, we're not gonna own 2 houses and you're gonna pick one or the other, so, he's still gonna represent us well, I think, so we'll just move on from that. County Health Officer, we tabled that, actually we didn't table, we voted on that to send it back to the Health Board. Sharon Prawl, Gene Robbins is on the Health Board, it's a 4-year term, their term started on 2022, Dr. Crosdale, Lincoln Taylor actually resigned, we replaced him with Dr. Avery. That was, their term started in 2021, it's again a 4-year term. And actually tonight we voted a change with Geraldine Williams and Gary Hubbard to replace Dr. Busey and Burley Gooden. So that term starts this year and it's a 4-year term. Next year we will have another appointment due. Ron West is up in 2024, and then the Weed Board is made up of Robbie Combs, John Harden, Bill Comer, Kevin Hall, and Tom Springston, and it also is a 4-year term starting in 2022. So that is it in a nutshell. So sorry that I went through every one of them, but we made some changes this year. I mean, I think I put some things out on Facebook. I know Randy did too. Greg talked to a lot of people that wanted to serve on some boards that, you know, I'm not saying they weren't asking in the past or had some opportunities, but I think new blood on some of these boards and new thought processes and somebody that wants to serve the community a little bit. I mean, I think it's going to make for a lot better.
I just want to correct, I did not go on Facebook. But I did not do that.
I know I did.
Yeah, I don't want somebody to think that I didn't take it down before anybody had to answer.
Anyway, I did go to Facebook and I did have quite a few people reach out. And I know by me going to Facebook, they reached out to these 2 guys too and said, hey, I'd like to serve. So anyway, most of these are year-to-year terms, and we may get some more people in the future that want to serve. And I know people are watching this. You know, if you want to serve on a board, let one of us know, and we'll try to get you a place or find you a place. So the next thing up here, and we're going to just mention this, and I don't think we have any paperwork or anything on this, but It is over the phone stipends for all judges and clerks. And I know we're gonna have a meeting next Thursday, a special meeting next Thursday at 5 o'clock. I'd actually like to throw this in on top of that meeting as well to discuss Scott County. Scott County does not have a phone policy as far as the county providing a phone to somebody or the phone or the county having a stipend policy. I think years ago it just happened. Somebody decided one day they were going to do that, and we started paying people for the use of their phone. I have mixed feelings with that. I don't really want to discuss it here. I mean, we'll discuss it next week in an open meeting, but I'll just leave it there. I think we'll just table this until our meeting next week. So the two of you, Randy and Greg, I want, do your homework, know how you think you might want to look at this. I see that in the agenda here, it says the judges, I know the judges have a little bit more power than, sometimes that they can, mandate things and tell us that, here's what's gonna happen, but I wanna just talk about it first before we get to the point of somebody telling us what they're gonna do, so let's skip that and on our meeting next Thursday, put on there that we're gonna talk about the ARPA money and, for the Cease partnership and Thrive, and there's one more, wasn't there? Wasn't there 4 organizations that came in here?
Cease,
Seeds,
Thrive.
Scott County Partnership, Thrive.
I thought there was one more. Was she with the Lifespan or Lifespan?
But that's Cease.
I thought there was 4 because there was a girl here, another girl, guy, and Phil. And I was like, there was 4 groups unless 2 of them were together and they were just here. So anyway, I just wanna make sure we have everybody on the agenda so that we're talking about it.
And on the phone stipend, I just wanna say that, hey, I don't know how I'm supposed to make a decision on anything, because honestly, I've never heard how much we were spending in phone stipends.
About 16,000. It's $50 per employee, or what, it's not every employee, but it ended up being about $16,000.
I've got a printout and showed my office.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, open seal bids for the highway department.
That was a mistake. That should be on the 15th meeting.
Okay, that's even better.
Yeah.
Moving right along. Consideration of.
They're not finished, so.
Consideration of the
We're really
minutes.
gonna shorten this meeting up.
That's even better. Consideration of minutes for January 18th, 2023. Everybody had an opportunity to look. That's what these are?
No. I'm not finished. I
Oh,
was
these are,
trying to
that's
finish
fine.
those today. Yeah,
We'll just
I-
table that. We'll table that to the next one, just,
What that is, but that's not.
we'll table that to the next one.
Yeah.
Consideration.
Can we do that on the special meeting? Or would that be a problem if we did that?
I think we can.
I would do approval of minutes at regular meetings.
Okay.
Just because, again, when you notice the special meeting for commissioners, you gotta state
There'll be
all
minutes
of
for
the
that.
things that you're gonna do.
Okay.
It's just a longer notice form, and if we're doing a bunch of different things, usually, the special meetings are supposed to be used kind of to address like an immediate need, a specific issue.
We can
I think
table
if
it till the
it's just minutes,
15th.
That'll be no
there's
problem.
no problem waiting.
We'll table it to the 15th, that's not a big deal. Consideration of payroll. Everybody had an opportunity to see the payroll?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sure everybody wants to get paid. So I'll entertain a motion to accept the payroll.
I'll make a motion to accept the payroll.
Randy makes a motion to accept the payroll. Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous. Looks like we have some special invoices.
Hang on just a second. I have 2. One's the docket for the, public defender, and one is actually what goes out to Stewart.
Well, we're not gonna pay that one.
Uh-oh.
They can beg for his money. while we're doing that, well, let's go ahead and do this real quick. Looks like, I'll let you go ahead. Look at that and I'll come back and I'll read them off the money.
This is minutes, right?
That's for January the
Yeah.
4th, I think. the
Those
first
we're gonna
one.
wait on. These are the ones we're gonna wait on, right?
No, these we approved at the 18th meeting,
Oh, okay.
but the 18th meeting,
Yeah,
we're not
okay.
finished.
I see it now, I'm sorry.
This was a ledger for the claims. You have, oh, he's got it, okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept the claims. I don't know if everybody's had an opportunity to see the claims that Mandy sent you an email on.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes a motion to accept the claims. Greg?
I'll second that.
I'll make that unanimous, so. Hope you signed it in the right place.
I didn't sign it all.
No, sign it now. There's two special invoices here. One of them looks like, public defender claims to be paid. And it looks like in the amount of $37,734.35. So I'll entertain a motion.
What fund is that coming out of?
Actually, public defenders.
Oh, okay.
Line
Okay.
item. So.
Yeah.
So I'll entertain a motion to pay this.
I'll make a motion to pay the public defender.
Randy makes a motion to pay $37,734.35. And I'm gonna say it's to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 public defenders, so.
I'll second that.
Randy makes a motion, Greg seconds it, and I'll make that unanimous, so. Then we have a second one here. Looks like it's on Zachary F. Stewart, for an invoice for the amount of $1,615. So, we're going to entertain a motion to pay this invoice.
I'll make a motion to let him eat.
Randy makes a motion to pay the invoice of $1,615 to Zach Stewart for services rendered. Greg?
I'll second that.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, and I'll sign it. It's not on here, but Mr. Attorney, do you have any comments?
I do not have any comments at this time.
No comments. Randy, do you have anything?
I do not.
Randy doesn't have anything. Greg, do you have anything?
I didn't know that.
All right, I do have one thing, and for all the county employees, I received an email today and forwarded it to Jennifer and to Trina that Baptist Health has signed a contract with Cigna Insurance Company. So anyone that has doctors that are associated with Baptist Healthcare, you are now covered. And that is back to, or actually today. Starts on
Signed
2/1.
Today, I don't know.
He told me it was retro to 1.
Retro to 1.
Yep.
Okay.
So 2/1/23.
Retro to 1. Yeah.
Now,
Retro to 2/1. Okay.
So it is, everybody is now covered, so, I thank Jennifer, I thank Trina, I thank, Emily Reinhardt and BJ Watts and Evan, for all their help with pushing on their end. And, I just wanna thank, Baptist Health and their company for pushing on the other end, so I think we're gonna have a good resolution, so. So I know that insurance thing was a big debacle that probably some of it was, couldn't be helped. I mean, but as good stewards of taxpayers' money, we saved the taxpayers $600,000 or $700,000, so. And I don't know if we're worrying about $100,000 or a couple $100,000 for an ambulance and worrying about what we're gonna pay for it. I don't know where we were gonna pay $750,000 for insurance, so.
Annual.
you know, not just a one-time purchase, this was every year, so. So anyway, I'll entertain a motion to, Jennifer, I didn't ask you, you got anything? I'll entertain a motion to close.
Make that motion.
Randy makes a motion to adjourn. Greg?
I'll second.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous. And as we say, kill the bird.